with some stress.
Welcome, everybody. Let's get this party started. Let me make sure I push the right buttons. Let's see. All right. I hope this stream doesn't stop. If it does, you know where to go. We'll see.
Hey.
All right. We're going to rock out for just a hot second. Get in the mood.
I like
We got to wash Diamonds and Pearls Super Deluxe Virtual Celebration off just a little bit so we can get What Did Prince Do This Week back in the house. This is week 49 and 50 of What Did Prince Do This Week, because we didn't get this last week. All right, who's out there? Okay. We got Red Cat Up Rock. Welcome. We got April from Tampa. We got Christina from Minneapolis. Hello, Dorothy. I made it from your run to the post office. That's what I'm talking about. We got Nick Feldon. It's about to get funky, like a sack of granddaddies. You know that's right. All right, Chris. I knew that somebody was going to know. So we knew that you got it the last time. You got it this time. It is A Million Miles. Look at that. I synchronized. Look at that. I didn't even plan that. All right. Welcome, Deja. I love this part. Just the chicken grease. All right.
Hey, D'Angelo, ask L Boogie 17. Shouldn't they be in Atlanta? Shouldn't they be in Atlanta at the celebration? I mean, at the celebration bowl? Shouldn't that where L Boogie be? Supporting your team. Now that's the only love I'm gonna give you, family rattlers. As a Jackson State Tiger, that is the only love you get this morning. You should be in Atlanta and not here waving in my face that my team ain't in the championship. Now let's move on with some fun.
All right. ATL is in the house. Welcome. Thank you so much for the thanks, Cassandra. What's up, Kim? Well, greetings from Florida, Mark X. Real on the DJ. Yes. Lee Christian. Good evening from the UK. We got JD Washington from the Detroit airport. That's what we're talking about. That's commitment. We appreciate you so much, JD.
Oh, wait, it didn't even dawn on me. He's like literally in the airport.
Yes.
Yeah. And man, we watching us. That's wild, man.
Isn't that wild? That's love and commitment. Yeah. And we got Blade Brown, my alliterative brother. And thank you. So one of the reasons why we got C. Lee here is we are definitely going to do a debrief of last weekend. I can't believe it was last weekend. It just seems like yesterday, but the Diamonds and Pearls Super Deluxe Virtual Celebration. We're also going to have Arthur join us a little bit later. But we do want to get our What Did Prince Do This Week on first, so we can get to all the Diamonds and Pearls Super Deluxe Virtual Celebration goodies. Good morning, Tanja. And from now on, I'm going to say, Mila, my heart. Thank you so much, Mila, for being here. You're so special to me. You have no idea. So thank you so much for being here. And yes, the Red Cat Up Rock ain't nothing but a muffin. And we got a lot further to go. All right, and welcome TP. Welcome Tracy. I miss not being in the ATL. I miss not being in the ATL because that's where my mama at and my sister too. And I'm supposed to be there, but had to come back to NYC. But we got Audria, who is in the ATL. So welcome. And we also got to welcome Love Sexist 71. Thank you so much for coming. Just so I can press that button. We got Sabelle. Good morning. And Man Ray 10, happy Saturday to all my purple peoples. Once again, congratulations to Professor D'Angelo, Michael Dean, C. Lee, the panelists, and all the fans on a fantastic weekend last week. And for those of you who might be going, what happened last week? It's okay. You can watch all of the videos, and we're going to talk about that because you missed out on Diamonds and Pearls Super Deluxe Virtual Celebration. We had a blast, 2 full days packed, and we're going to break it down for you in case you missed it. And yes, JD, a commitment. And oh no, Kim is going to dip out for some Celebration Bowl shenanigans. And so I'm so sports illiterate. I didn't even know the Celebration Bowl was going on. I don't even know if that's football, basketball,
So
soccer.
so for the folks in the house who may not know, the Celebration Bowl is what's called the Black National Championship for HBCUs. So HBCUs are historically Black colleges and universities, and you have two major Black college conferences, the MEAC and the SWAC, and every year they meet. And what people don't realize is that actual game actually rates higher than a lot of the bowl games for other white schools. And so when you hear about people like, and I know since I in on this, people may know names like Walter Payton and Jerry Rice. Those are all Black college graduates. And so over time things have changed. But yeah, so that's what's happening today, Celebration Bowl. My school was in it the last 2 years. We're not in it this year. This year is Florida A&M and Howard HU. And so much props to all the HBCUs and the folks who are going to dip out. And now I return you to your regularly programmed phone. Let's get it on.
And so I just want to say hello to a couple more people. Welcome, Heavenly Gains, particularly from Brooklyn. Welcome. It is a beautiful day up here, up yonder way. Welcome, Wisdom and Love from Minneapolis. But from Minnesota. I'm so used to saying Minneapolis from Minnesota. Thank you so much, Wisdom and Love, for being here. Thank you so much for being here, Vanessa. And I think we got everybody. Oh, I have not heard about this. There's a Vanity biopic in the works.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't. Where did you get that, Deja? Fill us in because we don't know. And Tanja is saying that they're partying like crazy in the ATL.
Well, it doesn't surprise me that there would be a Vanity. Actually, when I think about it, I mean, it could be a Tubi movie. It could be a Lifetime. It could be a big budget. So it's a lot. All right.
So Maria's saying it's on Instagram, so we have to go and check it out. And or if someone can put it in the chat, that would be interesting. So it seems like it's going to be a Prince biopic and now a Vanity biopic in the works. So that's going to be really interesting. I don't know how I feel. I mean, obviously, it's really important, I think, to do these biopics for new fans, but I just don't know. So Vanessa is saying, please, no.
Why you hating on Tubi?
hey, get that free TV. Don't be hating on Tubi. Get that free TV.
Exactly. The rest of us got to watch something, goddamn. Can afford all them streaming services.
I hear you, Michael. I hear you. Actually, it's my mom's and my sister's one of their favorite channels, so I'm not hating.
Oh, Lord.
And good morning, SMS 130. Detroit is up in here. And Chris, we're definitely going to talk about the Aballonia podcast with Susan and Brenda. They just released the 3rd episode. I haven't had an opportunity to watch all of it, just a little bit of it. And yes, by Biopic. All right. So we have a lot to talk about today, and we're going to try to get it in. But let's start off with our week 49 of 250, because we missed last week of What Did Prince Do This Week? And the estate of Prince Rogers Nelson is not affiliated, associated, or connected with the What Did Prince Do This Week book club series. And Kanisa schooled me last week and told me that I shouldn't be, well, she didn't say that explicitly, but implicitly she said, I really should be saying Paisley Park Enterprises. So I'm going to have to change the slides because I don't know how that, I don't even want to get it. Well, I guess I should know. I need to know. But like, I think technically Paisley Park Enterprises is one half. And then you obviously have the other half. So I don't know what they're collectively named. So if anyone can school me, I would really appreciate it because I haven't actually been keeping up on all of that because it's just a lot going on right now.
I say neither half's got nothing to do with this show.
Yes, that's right, Michael. I like, maybe we should change it to say neither half.
Being supported by none, y'all.
Yes, pretty much. It's just an independent endeavor. Obviously, we have much love for both halves because they're continuing to put Prince music out and Prince stuff out. So, we want to give them their respect, but they're not affiliated with this in any particular way. Blade Brown. I'm just going to put that up there for those of you who want to. Yeah. Okay. All right. So We're going week to week, not day to day. You can follow the detailed schedule. And we are about to go into year 2 of What Did Prince Do This Week. I got to compile a brand new schedule, which I'm not looking forward to because it takes a while to do that, but I'm going to get it done before we get started for our second year. So I hope that you've enjoyed first year so far, but we're not done yet. So I'm not even going to start playing that tune because we still got a couple weeks. And we are reading the expanded edition, also called the NIV version.
Right. That's right. Right.
That's right.
Nice.
That's right. Much
Get us a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
A little bit bigger fun.
Yes, indeed. All right. And then these are archived at YouTube on my YouTube channel, which is at Polished Solid, as well as Michael Dean's YouTube channel, which is at MDean. Please help subscribe, like, and help spread the word, not for us, but for Prince. And for people who really want to go into a deep dive of Prince or new fans who need to, they just want all the information, anything that they can absorb, and even some of the, current fans, you just like more Prince and more Prince. I think it's really important. And I just want to make sure, put this in here. Yes, thank you so much, Carol Brooks. We had an incredible weekend. I can't believe it's already been a week, but at the same time, it feels like it was a year ago. Yes, Gloria, that's what I'm talking about. Never too much Prince. So I'm glad that you guys understand that. But we like, one of the reasons why I do this is I want to keep Prince's name on the lips of the children and the lips of the adults and the lips of everybody. So again, you want to subscribe, like, and help spread the word, not for me, but for Prince. All right. So thank you so much. Actually, we're going to talk about a Twitter thread that someone contributed because they used the hashtag. And so I was able to find it. So we got actually a really great WDPDTW thread. So use that hashtag. And if you want to reach out to us, that's our email address. And we started off by playing, and I'm going to play it one more time. A Million Miles by Brenda Six on Warner Brothers Records, 1984. Now, what's really cool about this is the bass, and that is Prince on the bass. It's Sheila on the drums and the percussion, according to Prince Vault. So this song is fire, like Mariah. I know. I wish that I hope that there's another original set. And if there's not another original set, that they remaster the Vanity 6 and Aballonia 6 recordings and then also put Prince's originals alongside them. That would be like fire, 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 fire. This album doesn't get enough love. And that's the reason why next year we're doing Erotic City 40 Symposium, not Purple Rain Symposium. We're doing Erotic City 40 Symposium because we're going to celebrate not only Purple Rain, but also Brenda Six, also Sheila E.'s debut, The Glamorous Life, as well as the Times Ice Cream Castles. So we're going to be celebrating. Yeah, go ahead.
Just for there might be some people that they listening to us every week and they adjusting, but you throwing in Brenda Six, you might send them on a tizzy and they're searching and just can't find what the hell is a Brenda Six album?
All right. So Brenda, the reason why I call this album Aballonia 6 Brenda 6 is that Brenda is really holding down most of the lead vocals on the majority of the tracks. So I actually cut out all the vocals for this because I don't like listening to vocals while we're doing this. And Brenda's singing lead on this. She's also singing lead on Blue Limousine. Technically, Apollonia sings lead on Sex Shooter, excuse me, as well as Happy Birthday, Mr. Christian. And she doesn't sing on a Spanish Villa, so that doesn't really count. And then Susan only has one song on here this time around, which was a bummer for me, which is Ooh Chihuahua. Because on Vanity 6, Susan got 2 tracks. So I call it Brenda 6 because in addition to those 2 lead tracks, which I I think are, I don't know, I think all the songs on Apollonia 6, if I have to properly call it, that are really, really good. And it's one of the albums that no one ever talks about. And there's actually Wendy and Lisa are on this album. Joe Jones is on this album. Sheila E. is on this album. So it's like a really collective effort. And I think it's brilliant. And the songs have really stood the test of time. And even like a song like Sex Shooter, which I've heard a gazillion times in my lifetime, it never gets old. When that it's just like I mean, when it comes on, it just never gets old. Just like Nasty Girl never gets old, no matter how many times you play it. And that is definitely not the case with some other songs, which I won't name because I don't want to get into taste arguments. Yes. So as Dr. said, Blue Limousine is fire, fire, fire.
I will say for that 3-part interview that they did, probably the best part for me was how Brenda and Susan, how do I want to put it? Because I don't want to put it like I was surprised that they were, but just how embracing they were of Apollonia, if that's a better word, that you could tell. Like they had to make a decision. Like Vanny left, and it could have been who this chick, right? Because you know what could have happened was, oh, so and so out. I'm gonna get more parts then. I'm gonna get more singing. It could have been, and that they've kind of kept that kind of relationship where no, what we're gonna do is do everything we can to make you feel welcome, to make you feel like you're a part of this group, and if need be, even in our mind, create 2 different groups. That was Vanity 6, that was Apollonia 6. You completely rock with this. And so that's the thing I got from that 3-part for those of you who haven't seen it. Yeah. Hoppo, who this woman? That's what they could have been. Like, Hoppo, who this woman? And they weren't, and you could tell that the relationship kind of, because on the outside looking in, I was a Hoppo, who this woman? I was who is this Apollonia chick, right? So I want to give props to Brenda and Susan, not only for the great interview and the way that they really handled some things that could be tricky. I want to just, while I'm sitting here, I always want to give shout out to Brother Michael Dean, because he not only does great interviews, he is the king of once the train has left the track, keeping it from going into the ditch. This brother can handle some really tricky things if you watch enough interviews. And so I want to give a shout out to Brenda and Susan, because they were really welcoming. And to me, that's how you be a professional. But not only that's how you be a professional, that's just how you be a human being. And I appreciate them putting that on display. That's it.
Right on. So you're saying Apollonia was like the Johnny Gill of...
Yeah. That's a perfect analogy. Well, I mean, you had him ready to give a pipe, but yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, I would love to have Brendan and Susan, and to be honest, I won't go into it. I've tried. I'll just say that. All
right, Brenda 6. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So basically in the chat, Audra asks where are the dates for Erotic City 40. So I'm going to put them up here. It's going to be in person at NYU, like we did for Triple Threat 40 earlier this year in April 12th through 14th. And if you subscribe, actually, I guess I could go ahead and if I can find it with the quickness. I don't have time for that, but we'll do, like, if you subscribe to any of my newsletters on Substack, you can already sign up for it, register for it and everything. If somebody else is talking, I'll try to get that information together right now, because I don't have the websites started yet. So I don't have that information at my fingertips. And yes, Sakari, I absolutely agree. Michael is the best podcast interviewer that I've ever heard. And yes, I too listen to a lot of podcasts. So, all right, let me make sure we are showing the slideshow correctly. Right. All right. Okay. So again, I made a slight edit just because I didn't want to hear the vocals. So I want to give a mad shout out to Sterling Stewart because Sterling has been doing a lot of WDPDTW threads on Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it. And I love this comment about the deleted scenes because we've been talking a lot about the deleted scenes along with some alternate shots from the Jungle Love performance scene. And Sterling says, you know, that footage got to be in the vault. Wouldn't it be cool to see that entire Jungle Love performance scene for the first time ever? I think it would be fantastic to see all of the performances, more specifically, definitely Prince, but all of the non-Prince performances in their entirety, like the Modern Air performance, you know, even the sex shooter performance. There's a lot of performances, like the entire warehouse rehearsal scene would be really cool to see. There's just so much.
So let me ask you this.
Sure.
The book that we have of the time at First Avenue, that concert, is that the same footage that was used in Purple Rain, or is that another altogether concert?
From my knowing, it's a totally different concert, but I'm sure someone's gonna correct me, like my husband. Can you answer that for me in the chat? Because I think it's different. I think it's a whole different performance.
That's the one where Morris talks about money, right?
Yeah.
Passing the plate.
Yeah.
Oh, you took what you give?
Yeah.
Man, real quick. I think we talked about it before, but I was listening to the Prince performance at First Avenue when he was doing the Punk of the Month.
Yep.
That was just so funny to me. I'm like, okay, you basically got St. Paul singing a diss track to the time,
right?
And then he leaves the group,
right?
And then the diss track now becomes against the guy who sang the diss track.
Yep.
And then you on stage at hometown talking about Punk of the Month. This
now,
house.
If you really, you probably heard that groove, but he really gets into that Paul Punk of the Month groove in the Boston show. If you've ever heard the live Boston show on audio, check that one out. They really go hard on Paul, in that show.
Yeah, I was just like, and it's funny because Prince, then he goes, St. Paul, you took, did you give? You got to be one kind of petty, you know what I mean, to pull that from a recording of what I was saying about you, and then you put it in the song, and you do it live. It's just wild.
All right. Yes, I love this, Tanja. Petty P activated. And yes, the First Avenue show was used for the album track. So you are correct, Sealy. I knew I was going to get. Thank you for that correction. I really appreciate it. And then I'm sure, Man Ray, this is an interesting comment. I like this comment. The audio used on Jungle Love and the Bird from that boot was used in the Purple Rain movie, probably with some overdubs by Prince. Most likely. And there was something else. Welcome, Jesse. I love politicians.
Actually, I'm gonna give you a t-shirt that says you took. Yeah.
Oh, that needs to be a new button. Oh, yeah. Make a new button.
Yeah, we got to get a new button for that one. But because and Mila, yes, poor Paul. But we got to give mad shout outs to St. Paul because he has taken. I actually bought a Punk of the Month button from St. Paul.
Hilarious.
Oh, wow.
And I lost it. I was so upset because and we talked about it because I bought it directly from him and I was like, "Are you okay with that?" And he was like, "Oh, he just laughed. He thought it was funny. I don't know if he thought it was funny at the time, but now, he let bygones be bygones and he's totally cool with it. He thinks it's funny and he's actually selling Punk of the Month buttons, which I think is just hilarious. So, and yes, Blade Brown, I'm sure Paul was probably like, I thought we was cool.
I would have been hot. You got the whole crowd. They're going hard, jamming it for at least 10 minutes. Damn.
Yes. And I love this.
Is he hiding?
And Chris, this is a really good point to point out. Bless St. Paul said Prince employed his older brother, Ricky, and St. Paul went to visit him at Pace Park, and Prince St. Paul got a chance to clear the air and be cool with each other. And yes, St. Paul is so cool. We love St. Paul. And yes, St. Paul and Eric Lee still fire, indeed. And we got
later the family, rebooted family, whatever, prank Prince with Hot Summer or something. Didn't they do a diss on Hot Summer, the song Hot Summer from what was that album?
America.
Yeah.
America.
He
Yeah.
did this on that song?
Yeah.
I heard something about that too.
Yeah, they did. And what they did was their whole point was the song was so lame that it sounded like something you would play in a grocery store. So while they're doing the Hot Summer groove, you can hear either St. Paul or somebody in the background like apples on sale for $9.99 or something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
It is what it is.
And we got to give a very special shout out to Chip and Sparrow, who's listening all the way from Japan. So thank you so much, Chip and Sparrow.
Happening.
Yes. I love this, Sakari. Pretty and petty.
Hilarious.
Yes. And TP is saying Paul did the Hot Summer at Menards
Wow.
in Minneapolis. And yes, SMS 130.
It's gonna be hot summer.
So again, remember that you can find the slide deck on our book club website. And the reason why I'm saying that is if you click on most of the images, it will take you somewhere and you can basically see the thread that we're about to go to in case you want to respond to it and tell Sterling, we appreciate basically the conversation. Yes, it is the same Hot Summer from Welcome to America.
But also originally released on 2010.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think Hot Summer's on 2010 as well. It's not on 2010?
No.
Okay.
I think it came out, or it was, I don't know if he released it online or something. I remember hearing it way before this album, but yeah, definitely not on
That's
that.
right, because I was upset that 2010 didn't make it, and also either which didn't make it, Cause and Effect or Compassion. Because when they first came out, they were playing together, and one of them didn't make it.
Compassion's on the album for sure.
Okay, so Cause and Effect. Cause and Effect was originally tracked before Compassion, and then Cause and Effect didn't make it. I was really mad when 2010 came out that Cause and Effect wasn't on.
Gotcha.
So there you go. Yeah.
And TP is saying it like Michael, it was a one-off single.
Okay, there we go.
Yep. All right. So Sterling saying these were the photos he was referring to. I think these were taken at the bar inside the Taste on set during the filming of Purple Rain. There were deleted scenes shot that didn't make the movie. It was talked about. And
go back to that for a second. I'm sorry.
No problem.
If you just those pictures right there, if you didn't know nothing about Prince and you just saw that and you'd be like, "What do you think this movie is about?" Like, this is like a bench or something? Like, what? Is this like the Mac 2 or something like that? That's some wild pictures.
Very Mac-ish.
They're pretty wild out of context, but the thing is, I never think of these out of context. I always think of them inside of Prince world, and inside of Prince world, this is just another day.
Right.
So, I don't get the same response, but you're absolutely right. Someone looking at this that's not of the Prince world would be going like, "What was going on?"
I would actually be like intrigued. The Prince. I was like, "This is what Prince was." Like, oh, let me go watch this. This is crazy.
Whereas budding anarchist is saying freaky. And yes, Kim, the comments were interesting. So we're going to go through some of the comments too. So this is one comment. W. Kimberly says, Jelly Bean Johnson interview was talking about the bar scene in a video that came out with the original 7 CD, which I have, and I need to go back and watch it. I've only watched the addition to the original 7 CD a couple times, and there is a lot of information in that. So that's definitely something that we should revisit. Welcome so much, Raywin. Oh, thank you so much for being here. Vanessa said I had that pic of Brenda Six on my bedroom wall. I'm surprised my mom didn't tell me to take it down. Oh, Vanessa, you
Hey.
just brought up a PTSD moment. So I'll tell you a little story, and I shouldn't. Well, it doesn't matter because I'm still pissed to this day. So I went to Georgia Tech for my undergrad, and I had a roommate, and I had Prince posters all over my dorm room, including Sheila E., Vanity, Apollonia 6, and all that. I didn't discriminate. And I think it was her father. Somebody was coming to visit her, and she asked me to take down all my posters because she didn't
Wow.
up whenever whoever came by. And I was like, okay, no problem. So I actually took them all down, and it was a lot of them. It wasn't that one. It was like probably 10, 15. I don't know how many. It was a lot. And then so when that person left, because it was just a weekend, I put them all up. And then I found out she didn't want them down just for this person. She wanted them down because, I guess she thought maybe, I don't know what but she was offended that I had like Apollonia 6 and Vanity 6 and Sheila E. She didn't want to see that. And I could tell you more about this story, but I can't because it's quite personal. But
Did she know who they were, or just? I mean,
no, it didn't matter. It was just that
the imagery of it.
Yeah, she didn't like the imagery of it, and I put them up anyway. I mean, I put them back up because yeah. So obviously,
your side of the wall. That's how dorms work. This is my side of the wall. This is my side of the dorm.
Yeah,
look there, you don't want to see my posters.
Yep, and if I remember correctly, I could be wrong, but she actually got herself reassigned to a different dorm room, which was fine with me because then I had the room to myself. But that just shows you how provocative those images were back then. They weren't provocative to me. I wasn't even trying to be provocative. It was just that's what I loved. That was the world that I lived in. And like you just said, Michael Dean, I just realized like I had no clue that people who weren't in Prince world were actually shocked. It's like I was never shocked because it was Prince. Like that's just what he did. So it was it's really interesting, Vanessa, that you brought that up, and that Michael that you mentioned that.
It's I could see both sides of it. Not to necessarily compare, but I mean, I guess I could see if someone had like the Little Kim, that real famous picture, Little Kim on the wall. I would be like, okay.
Right.
I mean, I have a problem with it, but I don't know the background of somebody else. They may let it go. That's wild, like imagery. I don't want to see that every day, but that's interesting.
And it's funny, like you say, it's all those dynamics. I was somebody who was raised. I was like raised in a very strict religious household, but also my family had cafe joint connections. So even for me as a kid, it was kind of like, okay, go to church every Sunday. You and Prince going to hell. Yeah, my grandmama, old man, used to own a juke joint. So you had all this. So I was saying all that to say I grew up around people who were both shocked by Prince and loved Prince. I remember when, controversy was played on the radio, and the DJs first, they didn't used to stop it before the Lord's Prayer. And then I guess after a couple of months or so, there was backlash, and they started cutting the song off at that point. And so, so I could see where you were like, hey, what's going on here? But I guess someone like me who was raised in this, like I literally remember growing up being, say, between the ages of 10 and 14, hearing actual preachers give sermons against Prince. Like I like that. Like that was a real time thing for me. But again, that's that also that helps me tell people the Black community is not a monolith. Because at the same time, many of those same people were cafe juke joint people. And so, but also I'll end on, and that's also the thing about going to college and living in dorms. And that's the reason why I never lived in a dorm. I showed up to my dorm, had my dorm assignment, and it was a room for 2 people. When I got there were 5 people in the room. And when I opened the door, there were 5 people sitting in the room. One person sitting on my, I guess it was my bed, and the dude was like, "Hey, you my roommate?" I was like, "Hell no!" And I closed the door, and I went rented a house, and so I spent 4 years in a house. So, but yeah, that's all about those close quarters in that as well.
You know, I think there's also plays. I don't know if you saw that clip of Kirk Franklin that's been going around, where he talks about why he didn't work with Prince, even though Prince specifically asked him, like, "You need to come. Let's click up." But he sort of talks about, I guess, the stigma, if you want to say, of how the church saw Prince back then, which it was a real thing, like you just said. Not that I agree with it necessarily, but I understand it. Like,
and what that Silver Bless is Silver Bless. Here's the best way I can put it, and I can't remember whether it was Right On Magazine or Rock and Soul. And I've said this before. There was a guy in the magazine who said, I never forget this. This was he said, "All Purple Rain is Prince trying to clean up his perverted past to get mainstream success." So that should give you an idea of how rebellious Prince was seen. So I get when a lot of people don't understand when Professor Duff, when she talks about, for her, Purple Rain wasn't rebellious Prince. For a lot of people who grew up with Prince, I'm not going to say that we were saying that Purple Rain was sellout. I don't want to get that far, although there were a couple of people, because the Nelson Georges and a couple other people were really hard on Prince. But for those people who were down with Prince from 78 through 1999, how can I say, they did kind of see Purple Rain as Prince light. Not Prince sellout, but Prince light. And so, yeah, so that was so the rude boy. I mean, Prince was the rude boy. He was the dude. In fact, if you go look, and I'm not the biggest Beyonce fan, but this when she was still in Destiny's Child, she talks about when she was a teenager, her aunt told them she was going to a Prince concert, and they started crying because they didn't want their aunt to go get turned out at a Prince concert. Like, that's Beyonce. And I'll end on this. As late as 1988, 89, I was working at a grocery store called Kroger. You know, we had to carry people's bags out to their car. And this old black lady, old black lady, come to the store after church. She's just getting some groceries for Monday. So she asked me, "Well, baby, do you like that hip and hop?" I said, "Well, no, ma'am." I guess she thought I was in the gospel. But she said, "You like that hip and hop?" I said, "Well, no, ma'am." She said, "Oh, you in the gospel?" I said, "I like it, but She said, "What do you like?" Now, I'm gonna tell you what my answer is, but before I tell you my answer, because you gotta know what happened. So I said I was going to say Prince, right? I was going to say Prince, enunciate, right? I said Prince. I got to the I. This old black woman put her hands on my head in the name of Jesus right now, Lord. Get that demon out of him right now. Jesus, come down right now. Get it out of him. That lady prayed over me in the parking lot for 2 minutes, and people always ask me, they like, get an attitude like, "What did you do?" Man, I was an 18-year-old black kid from Mississippi, used to old black woman. I let that black woman finish praying, and you know what that black woman did after she finished praying? She gave me a $5 tip and said, "The Lord be with you." I said, "You gonna come back and pray next Sunday? Because I'll be here." So, you can pray over me. If you gonna leave me a $5 tip every time you pray over me, you can come pray this purple demon out of me. Leave the $5 tip though. That's it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, see, I'm sure you probably every time you saw her, you said, "I'm still listening to Prince." And
there you go, baby.
Love it.
So a couple of things. Tanja had asked, in terms of the roommate situation, was it a race issue? No, we were both black, just FYI. And then I also wanted to do Mila's comment. It says, "Sometimes we forget that Vanity Apple 6 were seen as scandalous back then, but was it also because they were women of color? Because sometimes I can't tell if someone like Madonna got the same reaction." I'm curious what your responses are. I have my response, but I want to hear from Michael Dean and Celie.
Were they seen a scandal? As far as I could tell, yes. I just remember hearing the song on the radio, and as much as I loved it as I was a kid, I had to look at my mom and make sure, is this okay for me to be listening to? Because you can hear the sexuality on it is obviously very different from a lot of the songs that were out. But yeah, I think they were. So was it a race thing? I'm sure some of it must play into that. But I to me, Madonna was very scandalous in my mind back then when she came out. I'll be honest. When I first heard Madonna, I actually thought she was black.
Mm-hmm.
Before I saw the videos, I thought it was, this is a black chick, whatever. And so I remember seeing her when she was on MTV, the award show on the ground and stuff. I was like, oh, that's Madonna. And I was like, well, damn. They're like, okay. But I think does some of that play into it? Possibly, but I think they were both seen as very much sort of scandalous or whatever. But I mean, they were both dope too.
I think that I agree with everything you said. I think that for me, and I want to say this carefully, and I'm not saying she should have been. So I want to be clear. I don't want people thinking I'm saying that she should have been. I think that because for me, I was familiar with the Betty Davises and the Betty Wrights and the Vanity. So not only was I coming to Vanity from Vanity, coming to Aballonia from Vanity, I knew Betty Wright. I knew Betty Davis. I knew go back even further, Bessie Smith. So I knew kind of sexually strong black women from the blues through the funk.
Millie Jackson.
What I found interesting was that Madonna kind of avoided that black appropriation thing because she was always presented as a dance artist who once video you could see she was white, got to walk in the other doors. And I'm not saying that, I want to be clear, I'm not sitting here saying that Madonna was appropriating. I want to be clear, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that she was never hit with that. Like there was no backlash to her of white folks saying, well, she's doing all these other things. And so I think that while she got her mainstream backlash, I do think that the one place where her race helped her is that she got to do movies like, what was it, Desperately Seeking Susan, and she got to do a lot of other kind of mainstream things that it would be interesting to see what Vanity would have been able to do under certain circumstances. I'll just say that. So,
I was gonna say Vanity really. I mean, aside from Nasty Girl, wasn't a lot of hits popping off. Like what I mean. Exactly. She kind of disappeared a little bit and then came back with The Last Dragon. After you heard that she wasn't going to be in Purple Rain, it's kind of like, okay, what's going on? Last Dragon comes out, and she had the one was it Mechanical Emotion. She was dropping albums, but it wasn't like keep it a buck. It wasn't,
Oh, no doubt. No, she didn't have the bangers that Madonna had.
Yeah. But she was in the movies though, 52 Pickup, Action Jackson.
And by the way, Dr. Claude, League of Their Own is a great movie, by the way. If you've never seen the movie A League of Their Own, it's a good movie based on a real kind of fictionalized real event, but it's a really good movie about women in baseball and that turn of the century kind of stuff. So
another comment you guys are really bringing it in the chat. It's TL Troy, well, thank you so much for this. Troy says, I've always said I enjoy Purple Rain, but for me, the success of that album changed the trajectory of the music he did. Once he went mainstream, no more raw and unfiltered albums like Dirty Mind and Controversy. Now, this is a really important comment, and Celie said something similar, and this is the reason why, for me, Purple Rain, and I'm talking about in real time, and I was only 13 years old when Purple Rain came out. I thought it was the beginning of the end because I thought he was going to go get too commercial and too pop because I knew it was the end of the Rude Boy. That, to me, the Purple Rain in real time, as a 13-year-old, I was like, what happened? I was like, what happened? And it wasn't even like, how can I explain this? I don't curse. And back then I didn't really know what he was singing about, like sexually and all that kind of jazz. So it wasn't even about that. It's just that I knew that he was doing and saying things that he shouldn't be doing and saying. And I saw that as rebellion I also saw that as like the ultimate freedom and doing whatever you want to do. And that was really powerful for me. And that's it. That's how I connected to Prince, was because he just was freedom incarnate. And so for me, I felt like he wasn't necessarily selling out, but that he was kind of muzzling himself or toning it down. And I actually, speaking, I don't know why all these memories are coming up. Another memory happened in high school that I never forget and actually had a profound effect on how I behaved. I remember I was at my locker and someone came up to me and brought a Prince poster to me. And I started jumping up and down like crazy because I can't remember what poster it was, but it was whatever it was fire. And I was just so happy. And this teacher came by and she told me to simmer down.
Damn.
Now, this isn't the first time that this has happened. This happened in my 30s when I was in charge. I was in charge of my own program, and we had another faculty visit us from another program. I was talking to my faculty because they were just a guest. And yet again, the same two words, simmer down. And I wasn't even upset. I was actually happy. And one of my coworkers literally had to tell this guy, oh, that's how she is. She's just excited. So I find sometimes as a Black person that you have to like put on a straitjacket and tone yourself down. So like for me, Purple Rain was Prince toning himself down. And I didn't like that because I knew that I had to tone myself down as a Black Southern woman, but Prince shouldn't have to tone himself down. So like Prince was he was my guy for that. You know, like I lived vicariously through Prince and Prince being able to do whatever he wanted because I knew that I couldn't as a Black female, particularly in the South. But that second, that 30s incident happened in the North, where that guy told me to simmer down. So, and in both cases, they were not Black.
I would say that I don't necessarily disagree. I would also say that one of the things we have to take into consideration, though, is just normal growth and change. And as you grow as a human being, you grow as an artist. And so, you know, one of the things that I will say, and then I'll bring it back to this, is that, and I'm not dissing anybody, I'm just, you know, when I saw Madonna, and again, I'm not saying age should change how you are. I don't know if I see you at 50 or 60 on stage in your underwear, if that's all you have to bring. And so I don't know if Prince became less rebellious, because when I think about a song like New Position, if you listen to New Position, he spells out something very clearly, and it got on the radio for a minute, right? So if you remember what he spells out in New Position. I also think about it, if you remember the song It from Sign of Time, which I'm one of those few people who think that it doesn't get enough love. I think that It, for urgency and emotion, and of course we all know what he did with It and Forever in My Life on the live thing is just, you know, otherworldly brilliant. But just It, like I remember the first time I heard It on the album coming out, sitting in my grandmother's living room, I had to be contained because I was running back and forth like a damn dog with a new toy. Because It for me was Dirty Mind. It for me was controversial. It for me was stop playing with this dude. This dude know what a cafe is. This dude know what a juke joint is. This dude, you know, so I think that what it looks like where he may have kind of toned it down, I think that he found more colors with which to paint. And I think that sometimes when an artist finds more colors with which to paint, we take it as not as raw. And my thing would be like, well, I don't think it's going to be as raw. It is going to be refined, but I don't think that he ever necessarily stopped pushing the envelope. He just found different ways to push it. While understanding that I can agree that Purple Rain was a really conscious attempt to make a certain kind of hit so that he could then go on and do other things. And I'll end on this. I remember when I was meeting with them, he had just built that egg structure by Paisley Park. And he looked out the window. I want to be clear, I didn't know what the hell it was. So he said, look at that. What do you think of that? Like, looks like a damn igloo to me. I'm from Clarkston, Mississippi. I don't know, player. I don't know. And what he said was, I built it to remind me how much money does someone need to live how they want to live. Now, he didn't go any further than that, but I do think that Purple Rain was part of a plan to get him somewhere so that he could no longer be told to simmer down, so that he could be no longer, right? The thing about it is, unfortunately, as artists, you do need a certain amount of capital. So that what's Prince's favorite line? Money won't pay for happiness. Money won't buy you happiness, but it'll pay for the search. And so I think two things can be true. Purple Rain gets him to a place where he can now be critically acclaimed as well as popularly acclaimed, and now grow as an artist and take us some places that he probably was wanting to take us as he grew. That's it for me.
I mean, go ahead, Michael.
I was just going to add, I think, Purple Rain, and I agree with both of you guys. I think Purple Rain, I look at it as Prince had to go to work. Like there was, okay, I've been running this business myself. I'm dealing with my people here. Whoop-de-whoop. This is good. Now I'm about to go over here and get on these mainstream corporate. I got to get this corporate move so I can expand my situation. So, you could call it Prince code switching slightly a little bit. Like, okay, let me give them the mainstream version of this because I'm trying to, I want to be a crossover artist. He was really on that. But I think the Rude Boy Prince is still there. I think that may have been edited out of the movie a little bit because it was a little too raw. But I think the last thing that Prince does in that movie is Dirty Mind Prince. When he grabs the guitar and starts spraying the audience, what that signifies. That's that Prince. Like, I'm still that dude. Which is a wild play in the movie, and then it ends, right? So it's like he's still that dude. Like, surprise, this was a movie. I'm still Dirty Mind dude. I think people that didn't know what that is just thought that was cool. But if you were following him, I feel like he still lets you know, yeah, this is still me. But I'm just, I'm here to get my bag. I'm here to do this big play. That's how I always look at Purple Rain. I agree, it is toned down, but I think it was smart. I think that's what he was supposed to do. That's what it elevated him out of being just the Prince that we knew. He was smart about it. He's like, I know how to play with these people, and he did that for a couple of years. And I'm gonna be that eclectic artist dude, whoop-de-whoop. And then I think with something like Sign Times, he was like, okay, now here's the evolved version of the Dirty Mind dude. Now I'm on, I'm refined, but it's still, like you said, all these songs is still in there, but now I can just do me, but just to go back into the Purple Rain thing.
Yeah, and so I mean, I just want to be clear with everyone. I understand how critical Purple Rain was to Prince. Without Purple Rain, Prince couldn't be the Prince he continued to be for the rest of his life, just financially. Like, he needed that bag in order to build Paisley Park, in order to basically do what he wanted to do. So I mean, I get it. But at the same time, we'll talk a little bit about Andre 3000 a little bit later, because, he was on the Questlove Supreme podcast this week. I have also a lot of respect for an artist like Andre 3000, who doesn't need to go after the mainstream anymore. And and in his particular case, I don't even think mainstream was the goal. It just happened.
Right.
So
and you can do that when you're super rich.
Yeah, no, yeah, that I knew that was coming. But that's the point I'm trying. That's the reason why I said that. But that's not what they were seeking. You know what I mean? But I do think that Prince was seeking mainstream, not for mainstream's sake, but so that he could be free and do whatever he wanted. So, yep. All right, so this is we're not as far along as I wanted, but we have a very special guest.
Bring CV in to slow the show down. That's
No, it's good.
Because we got a time limit. We're gonna bring Arthur on the stage. Welcome so much, Arthur,
Hey,
for
y'all.
being here.
How y'all doing? It's good to be back.
what's up, bro?
Man,
Yes,
it's good to
sir.
be back and not have to make sure that I'm being the co-host that D'Angela needs in front of an audience discussing an album that is my first, not favorite Prince album.
Mm.
That's not an easy thing to do, to be able to partition that that respect and lack of immediate love. But we did it.
We did it.
We did it.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did, man.
Last weekend was great. Really.
But I
great.
think that's cool too, because I did not know that a lot of purple people didn't feel Diamonds and Pearls the way I did when I initially heard it. Like
Yeah.
when I heard Get Off, I was 91, so I was a junior, senior in college, and at HBCU, so I'm in the thick of this black culture thing,
Mhm.
and hip hop is starting to take over, so I'm in the midst of hip hop taking over, and so when I heard Get Off, I'm literally walking around campus and walking around Jackson, Mississippi, was a majority black town. Like I got my chest poked out. Like I'm
Mhm.
like, for all y'all who thought it was over, for all
Right.
y'all who didn't understand the brilliance of Electric Chair from Batman, like when
Right.
when Get Off dropped, it was like my purple flag. This was my get back moment. And then as the album and me falling in love with that album in real time, and then realizing that's why these things are important. That connecting with other purple people worldwide that were like nah, didn't really have that same. But it helps me to understand how people hear things differently.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing that people miss out on is it's cool to hear things the way you hear them, but sometimes hearing something how somebody else hears it, even though you don't agree with how they hear it,
Mhm.
can enhance how you engage other types of art, if that makes sense. So I like engaging people who like I said, because I was really taken aback. Maybe I think once I met you guys and early on back in like 2017, 2018, that was the first time in 2017, 2018 that I heard people who I knew were Prince scholars. They said like, nah, yeah, Diamonds Pearl wasn't all that for me. And I was like, whoa,
Mhm.
really?
Mhm.
And it really helped me understand how people hear things.
What I found really interesting, and kind of safe, if you will, was that many of the people, both in the comments but also on the panels, said, "But Diamonds and Pearls is not my favorite," or
Mhm.
"I don't always reach for it," and it kind of validated, if you will, my personal view that Diamonds and Pearls punches way above its weight class.
Mm.
That the album is this thing, but the era has so much more of an afterburn
Mm.
that I felt that, still do, but I felt that this was the foundation of what came after
Mm.
the Symbol album, Come, Gold, Gold Nigga, Undertaker, going all the way up to the doorsteps of musicology, when I kind of feel that he kind of recycled the Purple Rain machine over, but that's some other stuff. I'm say that for April. But you kind of have to you have to respect an artist's work to be able to actually do that.
Mhm.
A lot of us that particularly well, big and small cities, but particularly big cities. It's like, all these big skyscrapers,
Right.
and we see the same name of the developer
Mm.
on these buildings as they're being built, um, I talk ad nauseum about, listen, Dirty Mind, that's the cornerstone of the whole shop, right? But Prince built a building, scaled it all the way up, and then dusted it off, pulled out fresh blue paper, drew a whole new blueprint, and that became 1991 forward. Not a lot of artists are able to do that. And say what we want about Warner Brothers Records, but they really, really let Prince develop into the artist that he became.
No doubt.
Got it, that he went to war with them and all of that. But the level of artist development for Prince has rarely been seen since. And a lot of that credit goes to Prince for claiming his artistry, for demanding what he demanded, and for finessing who he needed to finesse in order to make that happen. And we learned last weekend that he had a few people in his corner for him to be able to do that. So last weekend was just a fascinating experience for me that I was looking forward to. On the one hand, to learn more about the era, because I was standing on sandy ground until we kind of got into Come and the interactive CD-ROM and going into Gold Experience, where I found my way back in to lock into what he was doing as he was doing it. Yeah.
So
really
can I
appreciate
ask
that.
each of y'all a question? If it's
Can you
and-
hold,
and- I'm sorry, go ahead.
hold on that question in case people don't even know what we're talking about. So first of all,
Sorry.
about, like
Staying on brand, Duff. I'm just staying on brand.
That's okay. So last weekend, for those of you who don't know, was a 2-day celebration of the Diamonds and Pearls Super Deluxe. I don't have my book out, so it's really heavy. And this is just the CD version. This is what we celebrated last weekend. So I just want everybody to know. And then in the chat, I put in a link to the playlist of all the videos. There were 8 different roundtables, and they'll also be in the slide deck. So go ahead, Sigli. I just wanted to make sure folks knew what we were talking about.
So I'm gonna preface this with a little overview. So from 91 to 98, the way I engaged music was I never got on the hip hop train. I was a blues kid at the age of 6. You have to understand, I used to go to the B.B. King homecoming concert in Indianola, Mississippi from the age of 6. So blues was kind of this foreign thing. I just couldn't embrace sampling. I didn't understand how you got credit for somebody else's bass line. I'm not here to argue the artistic merits of sampling. I want to be clear. I'm just talking about, for me, I couldn't get into it. So from 91 to 98, whenever people were telling me these other things were happening, I would go check it out. And so what was happening was hip hop and grunge.
Right.
Grunge was cool. I liked it. But like there was nothing happening in music from 91 to 98 that was more interesting to me than what Prince was doing. And so my question was, for the Diamonds and for the people that Diamonds and Pearls just wasn't it or didn't, I'm always interested to know, what were you listening to? And it doesn't have to be an either or, because I know I'm setting this up like an either or, and it's not an either or. It was just for me.
Right.
Whenever people would tell me, like I would hear from 91 to 98, Prince isn't hitting anymore. And I say, well, tell me what's hitting. And when I would go listen to it, my response was like, yeah, I'm gonna go back over here and listen to Prince. So what was happening for you musically that you were more into that than say what Diamonds and Pearls was doing? And I want all three of y'all to kind of speak to that as we contextualize how we were consuming Diamonds and Pearls in real time.
I'll start off real quick. My answer is very simple. I was listening to the Get Off Maxi single. I was listening to I'm not lying. So the way that I consume music is I usually lock in on a song and I can play that song on repeat for weeks. And it never gets old for me. So anytime I try to listen to Diamonds and Pearls, the album, I would just want to put on the Get Off maxi single
Mm-hmm.
because I was just pulled to the Get Off maxi single.
Mm-hmm.
The only song that came through that in real time, and I don't know why, was Strolling.
Mm.
I would listen to Strolling, and I really love this comment in the chat by Audria because I was very similar. And Audria says, until this box set, I only listened to the Diamonds and Pearls tracks separately, never listened as an album.
Mm-hmm.
So I would skip and get to the tracks that I wanted to listen to, which were Strolling, Money Don't Matter Tonight, were the two that really stood out to me in the beginning. I did not like Thunder in real time. I love Thunder now, and particularly I'm calling it the Thunder Suite, whatever, that version that's on the box set. It's just like, it's really incredible. But it's just that I was, how old was I? I was 20 years old when Diamonds and Pearls came out. And for me, the song Diamonds and Pearls was too adult contemporary for where I was.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted the up tempo of, Ballad the Organ Grinder and Clock of the Jizz. And, I wanted that BPM. Like, I didn't want to drop down the Diamonds and Pearls BPM. That wasn't like my vibe. That wasn't my energy. That wasn't my frequency. I was into the Get Off. So I was still listening to Prince because I wasn't into hip hop at that time. Cause like, didn't Low End Theory come out? Like, when did Low End Theory came out? Cause that was my first
October 91.
And that is when I started listening to hip hop because of the jazz hook from Low End Theory. Cause I could tell they were sampling jazz or, were listening to jazz. And I was like, okay, I can get into this. And then it really wasn't until Snoop Dogg, because I thought he was Southern, and it turns out that his parents are Southern.
There's people from Mississippi, Meridian, I want to say.
Yeah, and I could hear that he was Southern, and by that time I was in New York, and I missed the Southern dialect. So I really loved Snoop just because of his dialect.
I think I'm wrong about the release of Tribe. But just Low End Theory came out about a week before Diamonds and Pearls.
Okay.
It came out really, really, really close. Because I remember I had 2 CDs, and I'm like, all right, what we gonna, you know what I mean? What we gonna do? I had my little money together, had my little car, had my little beat going on.
So Arthur and Brother Dean, what were y'all listening to outside of Prince in '91 when Diamonds and Pearls came out?
Yeah, well, to be clear, I was heavy into Prince, so I was listening to Diamonds and Pearls, but I did have the mindset of this is something different for Prince, and I was like, okay, let me just take it in. The sound of the sonics of this were different. Of course, the hip hop and stuff I'm wrestling with. Understanding Tony and liking that addition to Prince's music. So, but aside from that, I think Dangerous out at this time or was coming out.
Yeah,
I was heavy into that. This is New Jack Swing time to me, so I was heavy into all of that. I was heavy into BBD still, TLC, Bobby. I think the Bobby album came out. That album had me locked down. Like I was rocking that heavy, and of course, whatever was going on in hip hop, I was all into it. This was the time when I was actually a rapper at this time and was in the studio. So we was just heavy listening to older stuff and what was current. So I was listening to everything. I just thought for Prince, I was just impressed that he seemed to understand rap where it sounded legit. I was like, okay, this is my dude. I don't like that he's even acknowledging other types of music so openly, because I just associated him with his own thing. But I felt like, you know what? He nailed it. He still made it its own thing. So to me, Diamonds and Pearls was not something that I did not play, but I agree with somebody else. I would play the songs that I liked off of that album. Money Don't Matter Tonight, you know, that was
Mhm.
constant. Get Off was constant. Strolling's constant. Insatiable was constant. So I was still bumping that, and you know, to keep it a buck, I'm still playing the album that came before. It was like Graffiti Bridge. I was still playing that heavy. You know,
Yeah.
still playing the Times album heavy. So I wasn't, you know, it was just a continuation of it, but there was a lot of other music at the time too that was really hitting to me, and I would just play it all.
Mhm. Yeah, see that for me, from what Dr. Claus says, it's like Prince is Prince. It's going to happen. The
Mhm.
albums are going to be bought, and then everything that you listen to revolves, or well, at least Prince is at the center of it. And like for me, you know, I was a heavy backpacker, and there was a
Mhm.
lot of self knowledge that was coming through rap
Yeah.
for the Black community. I was 20 years old also, and I mean when we talk about 91, we're also kind of talking about 92 because that album was late
Right.
91 and spans, you know, into the next year. Um, I discovered Coltrane and Hendrix the summer of '92 at the same time, you know, and I was listening to a lot more um, improvisational music and Horace Silver and Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. But a thing that I actually forgot to mention that I think was really important for me and how I evaluated what was the released Prince at that time was that I was getting a pretty healthy and regular supply of bootleg materials, what turned out to
Yeah,
be all of the
Right.
86
that part.
sessions.
Yeah,
And
that
so,
part.
you know, when you get Expert Lover in 1991
That
and you're
changed.
looking at an album that starts off with Thunder, I'm digging into this 11 and a half epic legend type stuff.
Mhm.
And it really did, you know, it was almost the signal to noise ratio of what I
Mhm.
was listening to with Prince because this sounded more more familiar. And you know, it's one thing to say that, well, I'm stuck in the 80s because of the Lynn drum. It's a little bit more to it if I kind of analyze it in that way. It had more to do with I saw my it sounds so funny to say, but it's like I saw myself in Prince prior to the gangster glam.
Mhm.
Mm.
Mhm.
And thematically what he was singing about, what he had the content of his lyrics and his appearance and what he was pushing, because we know Prince builds worlds and you either you're gonna come in or you're not, it's on you. um the the terraforming that he was doing 86 through 90 was much more inviting to me than the
Mhm.
terraforming that he was doing for some years, you know, after that. um so there was a lot of different music that I was listening to through discovery, and I had a couple of friends in college who are a few years older than me and a little more seasoned in music and kind of directing my tastes, which were really all pretty all over the place. And I know that some of us, myself included, you know, say that as like badges of honor. You know, you ain't up on this. I mean, there was a degree to that, you know,
That
but
was
I just, you know, I just had open ears. And one thing I wanted to ask Celie in particular, because I had a couple friends, some, you know, born and bred LA cats that loved Nirvana's Nevermind album. So when you say that, you know, you dug grunge, was it that you dug grunge or was it that you dug the Nirvana album?
Hmm.
Because the same cats
Oh,
that I knew didn't like Soundgarden. They weren't trying to hear Pearl Jam.
no, I like Program Jam. I like
Yeah,
Soundgarden.
okay.
I'll tell you
Okay.
why, because I could hear. This is gonna sound really crazy.
Uh-huh.
I could hear, and I want to say this specifically so people who will know what I'm saying.
Uh-huh.
Although I wasn't supposed to hear this, I could hear 70s arena rock in grunge.
Interesting.
Now, there are going to be a
Mm.
lot of people who are going to be pissed off there because grunge was supposed to have been anti.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But really, grunge was anti hair bands. It wasn't anti seven. And I think what people don't forget, hair bands come between 70s
That's
arena
right.
rock
Yeah, yeah.
and grunge.
Yeah.
So for me, I could go all the way back to arena rock, and that's where I connected with grunge. Yeah, there are a lot of people who just like Nirvana who didn't like the other band. So yeah, so I could dig that. But I also wanna something you said. I'm gonna make probably the most blasphemous statement that's ever been made on what did Prince do this week. And people in the chat, get ready to take my purple card.
Well,
But
you know
you
I'm here
said
for it.
something. You said something, Arthur. So I'm just gonna go on and say it. I got what you meant when you said that Bootlegs took away your love of diamonds and pearls.
Mm.
Let me tell you why. This is my blasphemous statement. But I'm gonna stand on this, and if we're being, I'm like playing spades. I got all the Joker, and I'm ready. 2013. 2013 was such a productive time for Prince that the best 10 songs from 2013 do not appear on Artificial Age. Let me say it again. You go back to 2012, 2013, and you look at what we got from Artificial Age. The best 10 songs that we knew that were out that were being booked. Because remember, that was a real big gap between Prince albums.
Yeah.
I will argue that there were 10 songs that were much better that were circulating, and that is why I had an extreme problem with Artificial Age. So, but it wasn't until you said that with Diamonds and Pearls, and I remember writing. I actually wrote, it's a published review. If you go search, you can go find. I wrote this really long review about Artificial Age where I'm struggling with why don't I like this record, and I realized, oh, because the best songs from the past year and a half not on this record. And I think that's the curse of Prince Bootlegs. The curse of Prince Bootlegs, but particularly for us in real time, that when we were getting boots in real time and then you would get a new album, again, I was upset that Cause and Effect wasn't on 2010. Why wasn't Cause and Effect on 20? I had heard Cause and Effect. It was on the radio. Cause and Effect was the perfect boot in to compare. In fact, I can't listen to Compassion without first listening to Cause and Effect. They're the same song. So now you give me an album 2010 and Cause and Effect. So yeah, so I'm glad you made that point, because that's another discussion we'll have to have at some point about how not only Bootlegs made a lot of people Prince fans, but I think we also have to say that Bootlegs made a lot of us not love an official album, because don't forget, folks, there were a lot of people that were acting in real time like the Black Album was the real album and Love Sexy was the bootleg album. Don't act like that what happened. I'll shut up.
I remember that. I wanted to go, man, you dropped a lot right there. I wanted to go back to the grunge thing real quick. My thing with grunge was interesting. So I'm in Seattle.
Right, you're in Ground Zero.
That's right. Yeah, you're in Ground Zero.
And I literally, this is how I got into engineering. I was hired as a duplication engineer. I'm gonna shout the place that was not open. It was called Pro Tape. So if you were a grunge band, if you were in Nirvana, you were in any of these groups, or if you were on signed to Sub Pop, which were down the street, you would walk over to this place I worked at. You would have your demo tape, and you bring it over there, and you want to get your cassettes made. This is back when cassettes. So I had like a bank of cassette decks, right? And so literally, I'm the guy who, I didn't know who these guys were at the time, and quite frankly, I didn't get what. I was the dude in the back, and I'm super Prince. Somebody said protest. I'm Princed out in a rock city, in a grunge city, right? And I'm also hip hop in a grunge city. Yeah, but I'm back there playing Prince all day. Yeah, and here is the demo for Soundgarden or some of the sort of pre-bands before they become who are. And I don't even really, my job is to listen to them. I ain't even listening to them. I put them in, make sure the levels is good. Here, play, and then go back and play Prince. That's what's playing over the speakers. I'm not even listening to their shit. And years later, my man Tobias, he started the Prince podcast with me. He worked there as well. He's, dude, I still got them. That tapes from, Chris Cornell and came on. I'm like, man, I remembered. I didn't think nothing about that shit back then, and didn't even. I thought when I would listen to, I would, I had to listen just to make sure. I would be like, this is trash, like this, and I'm not shit lit. their stuff is classic. But I'm just saying, at the time, I just was like, this ain't, what is this? Like, And I remember specifically, I feel like 2020 Tony's Sons of Soul was out at this time. I used to just play that on loop in there. And I know all these people will come walking and they'd be like, why are you playing that? But that's why. And I was playing Jesse Johnson heavy. I didn't care nothing about grunge, none of that. So it was funny to me years later when I hear Prince playing kind of grunge type songs like on Chaos and Disorder. I was like, wow, he's chasing that. I was a fan. I couldn't stand what they were doing. I was listening to what he was doing in real time and what I thought was dope. So when I say Diamonds and Pearls, I was still playing that, even though I could see the influx of these people coming in and it starts to get popular, but I just didn't think it was good until I listened to the Nirvana album and I had to give it up. I was like,
right.
Yeah, that shit is dope. Or Black Hole Sun. I remember hearing that kind of early. I was like,
yeah, and my favorite during that era was Alice in Chains, which no one had mentioned. I loved me some Alice in Chains. But Michael, responding to something you said, I personally don't think that Prince was trying to jump on the grunge train, because if you listen to Dark Side, like that sort of preempted, I feel like, the whole grunge thing. And like for me, I know people are saying Dark Side or Blood on the Sheets is grunge adjacent, but for me, it's more of a thread of the Band of Gypsies. So I don't see it as grunge adjacent at all. I see it as the lineage of Band of Gypsies. That's one thing. And then going back to 1991, I forgot, I was also listening to a lot of a local band called Fall for Now. I was also a huge Fishbone fan, and I was also a huge 24/7 Spies fan. So that is what was my alternative soundtrack to Prince. And I was seeing a lot of live shows, because Fall for Now, No Walls is another one. And actually, the lead singer of No Walls is now the lead singer of Alice in Chains since Lainey passed, which is really interesting to think about. And then also Brand New Heavies. And they were touring, and actually Ricky just put that in the chat. Also Omar, which Tanja talked about, There's Nothing Like This. Like the UK scene was about to dominate for me. And so, yes, Tanja, the Yin Yang Days in the ATL, there's a really fantastic Yin Yang documentary that you can find. Yeah. And so we don't have much time, and the time is super flying by. The reason why I wanted Arthur and Celie to come on, and I know we've been talking about Diamonds and Pearls specifically, but I really wanted to talk about the Diamonds and Pearls Super Deluxe virtual celebration, meaning last weekend, and the roundtables. And I just wanted to have like a reflection and recap about the event. And if anything, in terms of the roundtables, if one stood out more than the other, something that someone said stood out, any epiphanies, anything like that. Because like for me, when we did the 1+1+1 is 3 symposium, my relationship with Diamonds and Pearls changed then. And my relationship with it has just grown with last weekend. And really, because I'm doing the same thing, to be honest, that I did when Diamonds and Pearls came out. I was so enamored with Get Off. And right now I'm so enamored with the Glam Slam 92 show that I haven't actually taken the time to really listen to the Super Deluxe. And that's the reason why I'm announcing here. This is the one thing that you can do about being on What Did Prince Do This Week. I am going to do a Diamonds and Pearls Super Deluxe Edition, a virtual after salon, like we did for the Sign of the Times. When we did the Sign of the Times virtual celebration, we did 5 consecutive weekends talking about each album. We did Vault 1, Vault 2, Vault 3, Sign of the Times Live, 2 times in a row. So we're going to do the same for Diamonds and Pearls Super Deluxe, starting sometime in January, right after What Did Prince Do This Week. we're going to do Vault 1 one weekend, Vault 2 another weekend, Vault 3 another weekend, as well as a Glam Slam show. And then we have to figure out what we're going to do on the 5th one, because we actually didn't really talk about the music, to be honest, over the weekend, because there's just so much, like, so much to talk about. I mean, some people threw in like, I like this song, like that song, but we really didn't do a deep dive of what's actually on Super Deluxe. And it's just so much material to cover that I just want to make sure that it gets its due, because Prince deserves it. And we need to really listen to these songs in a little bit more depth. So with that being said, can you guys talk about anything that resonated with you with last weekend with the virtual celebration?
Go ahead, Arthur.
Well, I think we could spend an hour talking about the Next Power Generation panel.
Yes, we could.
With some of the difficulty this past year between let's say, quote, old head Prince community and new head Prince community, and having kind of a disconnect in being able to, for those two communities to talk to each other. It was really good to hear the full panel moderated by Miss India, but the full panel basically have their own little takeover and claim their fandom and talk about their backstories. I forget, was it Jesse? I forget. Someone had said that they were talking, the Bootlegs came up, and Jesse talked about, my first bootleg was Small Club. And I said, well, damn.
Right.
That is a pretty big pill to swallow on the first go, because there's almost nothing familiar on that set. The opening song, if you will, is like what, an 11, almost 12-minute jam. Probably have my times wrong, but I mean, that's a pretty advanced. Small Club's either going to draw you in or it's going to scare you off. One or the other. There's no middle, for that. And it wasn't a nostalgia trip for that panel. It wasn't an infatuation with 80s or 90s music. They're very into what they're into, like right here, right now, and probably listen to a whole bunch of bands that my daughter listens to that I have no idea, who they are, which is cool, because sometimes, well, we all know, the music is for you and your generation, and the generation that follows needs their own music to define them, so that this art, can move forward. But another thing that I think was a real hero moment, I believe it was the writers panel that Scott Woods was a participant in. So he was moderating that one, and help me, Celie, because I'm a terrible. This is not what he said. It's a horrible paraphrase, but he effectively said that there is two versions of Prince. There's a studio Prince, and then there's a live Prince. And live Prince will make you believe in music that studio Prince put out that you don't like.
Right. That's exactly what he said. Exactly what he said.
And that, I think, was thematically what last weekend was really all about. What I love about Diamonds and Pearls in that era is that it's an era where everyone can wholeheartedly participate in. It's like an overlapping of beloved periods. Yeah, I don't want to. I've talked enough, but I think those two are just the absolute highlight panels.
That's interesting what Scott said, and I'm just going to throw this out here. Do you feel like that speaks to all of Prince's musical output, or at a certain time that plays into it? Because I'll say this for myself. I do believe when you hear the live versions of stuff, the songs that you didn't necessarily care for, but I only really felt like that, to be honest here, when I saw or started listening to like Sign of the Times think. I never felt like 1999 era Prince. Diamonds. I never felt like the live versions made me like. I like those songs right off the gate. Like it just sounded even doper. But I almost feel like it wasn't until the quote unquote experimental stage of Prince where I had to hear the versions live first. Like when I listened to things like Around the World in a Day, as much as I liked that album, when I heard the live versions, I began to love that album. The same with Parade, as much as but when I heard them live, I was like, oh, it done took it to another level. I would rather listen to the live versions than the album versions, but I never felt like that with I'm asking what you guys think.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because this is why I love the work that D'Angelo is doing. Because you, Brother Dean, and Scott basically just said a nuanced thing of the same thing. So Scott is saying that there could be a time where there's a song you may not dig in the studio because you just don't understand what's happening, and then when you hear it live, you go, "Oh, that's what the hell that is." You're essentially saying yes, and on the other end of the paradigm, there's a song that you can already love that when you hear it live, you can love it even more. So that both things can be true, and that's the brilliance of Prince the live performer. The brilliance of Prince the live performer is there's a song you will love from the studio that you will love even more after you hear it live. And there's a song that you may not have necessarily felt from the studio that you go, "Oh, I dig that." But here's where that's important. There's never a time with Prince, unlike a lot of other so-called artists, that you hear Prince live and go, "Oh, that's terrible." That you see what I'm saying? That Prince was always elevating in a way that you always understood that he was a live musician first and foremost. And so for somebody like me, who started hearing Prince live with Dirty Mind, so I heard Prince live on the Dirty Mind tour. I got to hear Prince live in the same year twice, because the Controversy tour and the 1999 tour came to Memphis, which is right outside Clarksdale, the same year.
Like
so
early 82, later 82?
Exactly, yeah. So you heard that. Then I heard, so I got 1999. My mama, because I got 2 D's and an F, my mama tore up my Purple Rain tickets and turned them in confetti right in front of me. That's a whole nother treatment. Yeah. In fact, not only did she tear them up and basically make it rain in front of me.
Here's your Purple Rain.
When the ticket dissolved in front of my mama's face, D'Angelo, I apologize. So if you need to bleep me, but this was the greatest lesson for, I gotta say what my mama said. Brother Dean, Brother Arthur, when them tickets dissolved in front of me, my mama, who was a teacher, as those tickets dissolved, my mom looked at me and said, "Stupid people don't get to do shit," and walked out the room. And that is and that is the greatest lesson. So I saw every American Prince tour except Purple Rain. And then just so you know, I was still on punishment when Prince performed Purple Rain at the American Music Awards, right? I was still on punishment. And the rub sawed into my wounds. My mama walked into my room, opened the door, and said, "That's a nice version of Purple Rain," and closed the damn door because I couldn't watch it. My mama was so cold-blooded. So
she was on her Joseph.
That we didn't need that tangent, but so saying all that to say, and to get the train back on the track. So that's why I love why we do these things, because you get these nuanced understandings of things right now. To relate it to the actual online celebration, what I really love was 2 things. I love that we had the fellas and the ladies. But what I love was you got 2 really scholarly aesthetic deconstructions that wasn't necessarily about gender. So that again shows just the level of Prince scholarship and Prince fandom. I'm gonna say this, and it's not a knock against other people. I do think you have to have a little intellect about yourself to be a true Prince fan. I think that if you are a surface listener or a surface human being, it's going to be difficult for you to go on that ride with Prince. And so that's what I love. And the last two things I'll say, I love the writers panel. And the reason I love the writers panel was because you guys discussed something, D'Angelo, that I think is important, which is peer-to-peer mentorship. And for all the people who are in the chat, whether you're an artist or whatever it is your profession is, peer-to-peer mentorship is important. So to hear these writers talk about how they would share their writings with each other or how they would bounce ideas off of each other, I just think that those of us who are artists and who are working in certain ways, peer-to-peer friendships, peer-to-peer mentorships, and I'm glad that I found this community because I now see that there are a lot of just smart people in the Prince world that I can learn something from, even if we're not doing the same thing. And then the final thing I'll add is I'm a selfish consumer of art, right? I'm the dude that I don't care if a lot of people don't go to my favorite restaurant. Damn it, that just means I get my food more quickly. But I also have to understand that if a lot of people don't go to my favorite restaurant, that damn thing gonna close, okay? So I, for many years, didn't care about the next generation of Prince listeners. I didn't care about it. I didn't because I was so out on music after 1991. Like I had so much disdain for music after 1991 that I didn't care about new people learning to love. So what the Next Power Generation panel did for me is that it gave me hope. And I'm not trying to be romantic. I'm not trying to be over the top. I'm not trying to be. It was the first time that I heard a bunch of young people discuss music and discuss Prince where I didn't think these young people suck. For the first time, and I teach, and it was great to hear these young people talk about music and not go, y'all suck, stop talking about music. So I know one of the brothers who was on that panel at Picked In, I hope he's still in. So I want to thank him and the rest of these young people because it's rare that I find young people outside of maybe my advanced creative writing classes where I want to spend time talking to them about Prince. And like you said, when my man talked about what his first bootleg, I was like, yeah, that's not no easy get into bootleg. That is, small club and then night clubbing and all those things are, that's damn near starting with the meat of the syllabus if that's your first bootleg. Mm-hmm. And so I appreciate all you guys, like Brother Dean and Arthur me, like trying to do your Google. Whenever y'all would say that, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Whenever y'all would talk about the new people, I would be like, fuck them new people. Like that's how I would be like, I ain't gonna even lie. I ain't care about them. I'm gonna be honest with you. And so I'm saying that to say we all can learn. We can all grow.
Right.
People because I'm passionate. And I know people take that my passion is my passion. I'm not passionate because I think I know everything. Mm-hmm. I ask questions all the time, but I'm passionate about this because, this dude's music, Prince probably didn't stop me from hurting anybody else, but he definitely stopped me from hurting myself. Mm-hmm. And, his music, along with my parents, like I had great parents, and so my parents taught me that I could do anything. And to have Prince's music, to be right there with my parents is saying, yeah, bro, you can do anything. You can be a black man and define your blackness. You can be a black man and not let anybody else, black or white, define your blackness. I now understand that that's important that the next generation have those same messages. So I appreciate y'all not listening to some old bitter dude like me who mad that hip hop won. And I'm still out here fighting. I'm still out here fighting the hip hop civil war, like these neo-Confederates in Mississippi, still fighting the Civil War. And that's the last thing. That's it. That's the last thing I want to say is also I had to learn this lesson. When you're fighting against evil, don't let your fight against evil keep you from liking something because people may have different reasons for liking it. And here's what I'm saying. I'm always fighting against how white supremacy attempts to commodify Prince.
Mm-hmm.
But what I had to learn is just because I'm fighting against white supremacy's commodification against Prince doesn't mean I'm going to hate on something just because those same people like it. So just because I know that mainstream white America wants to hold Purple Rain up, I'm not going to walk around here talking about Purple Rain ain't that good of an album. Does everybody understand the point I'm making? And so what I had to learn was when we're fighting to make things right, I had to also learn that, I'll end this with, some people may not understand when I say, my father used to say, son, have an issue against the white reporters, don't have an issue against Larry Bird, because Larry Bird was fired. You ain't got to hate Larry Bird because you know these white reporters are trying to hold Larry Bird up to something. So I'm not going to be out here hating on Purple Rain just because I know there's this mainstream drive to make Purple Rain the only thing Prince did. And so those are the things that I love about not only the Diamonds and Pearls online celebration, but everything you guys are doing. I'll shut up. And sorry for going so long.
Oh no, it's totally okay. So one thing, and Michael, I want to hear from you about what your thoughts were on the weekend. But I want to point out, I don't know if Mila is still here, but Mila was one of the panelists on the Power Generation, and Mila has been here every single weekend for What Did Prince Do This Week, this entire year. So I got to give a mad shout out to Mila, and obviously she was the reason why I got it last weekend, like because of Mila's comments. And I really love this comment too from Tanja about even Randy mentioning Jack the Rapper, because no one mentioned Jack the Rapper until Randy mentioned it. So they're definitely doing their homework, which is just heartwarming. I mean, it really is. So yeah, and Mila's still here. See, heart. See, that's what I'm talking about. So definitely the next Power Generation, as you predicted, Arthur, was the panel to watch. So if you haven't seen anything and you want to go back and watch them, I don't know, you can go out of order. You can start with the next Power Generation because they actually had an incredible roundtable, and I really loved India, who is the moderator, her last question, which was brilliant. Like, if you could talk to Prince and ask him about Diamonds and Pearls, what would you ask him? I was like, jaw dropped. I was like, God, that is a brilliant question. It really is. So what about you, Michael? What stood out for you?
The same thing, the new generation panel, that was called. Was the one that Next Generation. I watched it all the way through with them. I just love to hear, I hate to say the younger, but I like to hear people who were not into Prince super long, their take on it, no matter what their age is. I would just like to hear, I like to hear the discovery, hearing things. So I'm the guy that's watching a lot of the cats on YouTube, their reactions, but I like the younger cats who I'm curious to see how they see this. Do they see it the same way that I felt like I have? And maybe I'll learn an appreciation of something that I wasn't paying attention to. So, just to keep it quick, I really loved that panel. Everyone in there I thought was stellar, top notch. I also was a big fan of the ladies, watching that one too. I love listening to women talk about Prince because to me, I feel like that's who he was talking to in my mind. So I would always like to hear, and that's how I got into Prince, was through a woman being so into it. So I'm just, that takes me back to my cousin who got me into Prince. So that's a thing in me. I love to hear women talk about Prince. Let's go ahead.
I'm so sorry, but the 92 DIY, the look on all the males' faces when Professor Cummings is obviously having a moment with Prince, and she says, well, what are y'all feeling what I'm feeling? And the look on those brothers' faces.
That one, yeah.
They were like, I'm out. And I was the only one willing to answer it. But when you said that, I need y'all to go back to that moment. When Sister Carmen said, ooh, what are y'all feeling when he's doing it?
Yeah, that was a
Your
moment.
brothers didn't want to have nothing to do with that question at all.
Hey, man.
Yeah. I've been to Prince shows with women, may or may not have been once I was married to be included with that, where I was just left. Like it was a wrap. You know, I went home by myself, but I took notes. So that's really, because, you know, I can't, I was thinking about that, like, for myself. It's like, wow, you know, I'm not romantically attracted to Prince so much as I am drawn into his passion. And then you kind of faced with can I get away with some shit like that? You know what I mean? And maybe I can, maybe I can. But yeah, I mean, I've been, one night alone in Chicago, and I had good seats. Sister ran to the front.
Oh God!
Ran away to the front.
And that's another interesting conversation that we could have, because wasn't the big anyway. So Tupac actually died on my wedding. I remember the day he died. They announced his path. I got married in my father's backyard. But one of the things I always remember about Tupac is Tupac said, "I love women like Prince loved women." And I'll tell you why that was always an interesting quote for me. So here you have Tupac, who, as we know, every 10 years, masculinity changes, right? The definition of masculinity changes. Right. And what often happens is every 10 years, the next generation wants to be even harder than the generation before. And so my question was always, so you have Tupac, who at the apex of his popularity was the alpha male. And he's saying, I love women the way Prince loved women. Yet at the same time, you got other dudes who were saying, well, no, Prince is too feminine for me. And so where is this conversation? Like, I always wanted to know, like, so my friend, my cousin John, who I love, shout out cousin John who checked in. Cousin John always tells the joke about, he went to buy Love Sexy the day it came out, and he had to do, hey man, turn the album over, turn it over. Turn it over. Turn it over. Now slide it into the bag. Like he literally talks about opening the album without looking at the cover, right? So you have these two things about males, like heterosexual males, and how heterosexual males, and like for me, it was interesting that he was never too effeminate for me, and I don't know if that was because I already knew who Little Richard was. I already knew who Sylvester was. I'm glad that Sister Commons brought up the discussion about Sylvester. And if some of you don't know Sylvester, if you never heard what's the Sylvester jam, You Make Me Feel Really Real, I mean, that you talk about beating up the club. You can talk about all your masculinity if you want to. That song by Sylvester beat up the club floor. And so I think I would really like to hear a plethora of heterosexual males, and not to put anybody out, but heterosexual black males, to talk about how because, and I end on this. Do y'all know y'all don't know this, one of the biggest thugs in my neighborhood, check this out, one of the biggest thugs in my neighborhood walked up to me and asked me on the low, like he was asking me for some drugs. Walked up to me, like,
going with that. I was like, what?
He walked up to me on the low like he was asking me for some drugs. He said, say, man, that's time to tie the album. I was like, yeah. He said, you got the album and the cassette? Because everybody knew I always get the album and the cassette. I said, yeah, I got both. He said, say, man, that cassette, man. Let me get that cassette, man, because I got to learn the lyrics to If I Was Your Girlfriend.
Wow.
Here's a dude who was a thug, who sold drugs, who carried a pistol, who knew that if I was your girlfriend was about something else than what the average and my question was, how did this dude who was the thug know that this was a song by a heterosexual male talking to a female about how they could take their relationship further, where everybody else just saw the title, If I Was Your Girlfriend, and thought Prince trying to come out the closet. I'll stop there.
Well, I would just add the only thing I would say about Prince, even though, yeah, oh, he got his butt out and all that, but what I always respected wasn't what was said, it was the demonstration. So when you saw Aballonia, Vanity, demonstration speak for itself. So it wasn't no question of like, oh, he pulling. So ain't nothing funny about what's going on with Prince. He's just super deep into it. He don't work, and he's just on that time the whole time. So that's what it would look like. That's the presentation. So yeah, he's smoothed out, slick with the tongue, obviously. The mannerisms, you know, he know how to appeal to the ladies and some locked in. So I was just like, yeah, he is. That's the Mac. Like that's why I say he's speaking to them. And again, you could get caught up on how it looked, but what's the demonstration? What's the actual receipts of the that Prince is? He on the cover of Diamonds and Pearls with 2 white girls. Bad one. You know, y'all can do the spiritual thing, but he understands the visuals and what he's doing. So that's why I think Cats was like, yeah, Prince always pulling. You want to know what's going on and how to, you know, step up your game and spit a little bit. Yeah, you can listen to some of that and see how it, because you understand people responding to that. Like, so yeah, Prince was always, I don't know, brainer to me. As much as my man saying turn the cover over, yeah, he turned over, but he's taking it home to go listen to it.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So that's a reason why, like, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things I want to say that kind of tie into responding to C. Lee that I talked about earlier. I was at a Fishbone concert the night that Tupac died. And before Fishbone went on, so that's how I found out. I found out from Angelo Moore, who's the lead singer of Fishbone. He actually came out on stage and said Tupac had died, and he wrote a poem for Tupac, because I don't know if you know, like, Angelo's really into you know, poetry and all of that. And I will never forget that moment. One, I didn't believe it because, you know, Tupac had survived the previous shooting, and I just thought he was invincible. And I was like, are you sure? I was like, kind of thing. So I was a little bit in shock. The other thing, kind of going back to my roommate and kind of answering, I really wanted to answer Camila's question, because I've never been attracted physically to Prince. And the thing is, like, I'm not attracted to Sheila E. or Apollonia. Like, going back to that roommate, she might have thought that maybe I was attracted because I had all these females on my walls or whatever. But I'm an artist. And there's something called beauty, like just beauty as an aesthetic. And so, like, I can obviously see that Prince is one of God's creations. I mean, he's beautiful, but just because someone is beautiful doesn't necessarily mean that you're attracted. And if you're an artist, you understand the difference between just the aesthetics of beauty versus, you know, being attracted to someone. And I think a lot of people, so for instance, a lot of my friends, especially when I was growing up, were male, and I was never attracted to the male. They were just like my brothers. But everyone would think, oh, that person is your boyfriend. Like, no, they're my friend. Like, and there's always this conversation, oh, you can't be friends with the opposite sex. Yes, you can. I mean, and so it's just, I always get, one of the reasons why I love Prince was that he was very complex and intricate. He wasn't black or white. Like, he was very nuanced. And I just feel like, especially today, we live in a world where you have to take sides. You can't be in the middle. Like, you have to, you know, be entrenched. And like I don't know. And also you can't even change your mind. I thought you said, whatever. And so like there can't be any nuance. And so Prince is all about nuance. So that was one of the reasons why I love Prince, and also the reason why I love being in the purple world, because it wasn't so black and white, and it was like complexity, and there was a spectrum and all of that. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Arthur, you were gonna say something. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I hope this comes out in the April symposium, Erotic City 40, celebrating Purple Rain. And good Lord, woman, 4 albums: Purple Rain, Ice Cream Castles, Glamorous Life,
Nobody
November 6,
wants to
Aballonia 6.
about the Ice Cream Castles, just FYI.
Nobody what?
Wants to present about Ice Cream Castles. I don't understand. I mean, we're going to do the round tables, but like for the symposium, I want round tables and presentations. Everybody wants to talk about Purple Rain. A couple people, Apollonia 6, a couple people, Sheila E. Crickets for Ice Cream Castles. Just FYI.
But I believe that a lot of reaction that actually still happens to this day. A lot of reaction to what Celie was talking about. Hey, can I get some of that la 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 he he has a lot to do with the has a lot to do with the Purple Rain bubble that Prince could not escape from, no matter what he was able to do. Now, he may not have actively been wanting to escape Purple Rain. I don't mean that, but I just mean that I saw an interview with a touring drummer that worked with Prince late in his career, and when he was talking about first meeting Prince and his perception of what he had of Prince in his mind against the physical Prince that he was talking to, he made gestures referring to Purple Rain. It was a guy, he was doing this and he was stroking the guitar. He's talking about an image 30 years prior to a person who is right there in front of him, grown and matured as an artist and a human being. And that is a curse of a lot of artists over the years who have had such definitive works that a segment of the fan base, and we can call them casual or advanced or however, but a segment of the fan base still lives or expects that from that artist. Erykah Badu and her head wraps, David Bowie and whatever era you want to call from him, Boy George and early, what I'm saying? It's just something that you can't, Bobby Brown and the Gumby,
Right.
And so what I really like about these symposiums, and I am going to go back to the next power generation just as what they represented, was that here is a group of individuals who were not born during any of this that we're talking about. Maybe they were babies, for rainbow children, you know what I'm saying? But here they are looking at an artist and loving an artist for what they were at these periods of time, and are allowing a classic artist like Prince to be the 84 Prince, to be the 92 Prince, to be the 2004 Prince. And it was just very refreshing to hear and to see that, and to see how the influence of the music that they were listening to has on their lives right there. An artist that I really love. I wanted to bring him up, D'Angelo, in New York in April during the rock aesthetic presentation, is Steve Lacy. And Steve Lacy is particularly, his current album, I believe, is called Gemini Rights. He was nominated for at least one, possibly a few Grammys. But if you watch his performance that he did during the Grammys, and I found it on the Grammys website, that you see a Prince aesthetic and you see a Prince influence. If you listen to his debut album, he released a lot of series of EPs, but his debut album, Apollo 21, you hear a Prince influence. I mean, it's like the influence of Prince just fell on him, but he's not trying to be Prince.
Mm.
You'll see him on stage at the Grammys in a suit reminiscent of what Prince wore on the cover of Rape to the Joy Fantastic. You see the heeled boots under the wide bottom, if you're paying attention, under the wide bottom slacks. You know, you see his outward love of Prince, but also providing a sound that is exclusively him. You know, and for an artist like that who got his start working with being a part of, but working with the internet, which is part of Odd Future, Tyler the Creator's creative collective. And nothing out of Tyler's camp is less than talent. I mean, they all know how to play, like really play, you know. But it's just refreshing to see and hear music from a young artist appreciated by a younger demographic that can navigate between the very R&B richness of what the internet does, but also what Steve does on his own that produces not just a rock aesthetic, but a Prince rock aesthetic. And it really does give me hope. And I know I just basically assigned everyone on the next Power Generation panel as, you know, fans of Steve Lacy. But I really wanted to overemphasize, you know, this point, because even though we're talking about albums 30 years, 20 years, 40 years ago, we're all cognizant of wanting to relate this to today and not only relegate Prince to just a legacy old artist. Now shut up.
So, Michael, I felt like you were about to say something. Were you or not?
You know, I was listening to Author and I wonder, I don't know if this is switching it up. You know, when we talk about Purple Rain, it is such a landmark for Prince. And there's all these other albums that we champion as fans and that we want to get the attention that the world gives Purple Rain. I guess my question to do without that, though, is does the world care about the other stuff? You have to have the Purple Rain because that is the thing that the machine obviously eats off of. It is the biggest thing mainstream that it had, and with the movie success, the album, the imagery of it, if you take that away, does the mainstream sort of back off of Prince? Or, you know what I mean? Like, doesn't you have to have Purple Rain, whether we love it or not? I'm not saying that we don't love it, but the attention is going to have to always be there. That's just a part of, that's what he's known for. I mean, it's like any other artist, you know, if you take away Thriller, that's not a good comparison, but there's artists that are known for this thing, even though they have a vast body of work. If you take it away from the people who aren't super deep into it, then what do we know about the other stuff?
I agree. I think it's one of those questions we've had a discussion in reverse, right? The reverse is, so if you get to 1999, and I know this is I think somebody used this phrase, this phrase rubs people the wrong way or whatever. It doesn't bother me as much. Prior to Lil Red Corvette going into heavy rotation on MTV, Prince was black famous. Like, for those of us, particularly who lived in black markets. And so the question you're really raising is, if Purple Rain doesn't explode, what is Prince as a quote black famous artist? And I would say that it's difficult to answer because we don't know to what degree Prince's musicianship and philosophies, because one thing about Prince that we also have to give him credit for, his albums changed as his philosophies changed, right? The one thing I'll say about Prince is Prince believed wholeheartedly in what he believed in until he believed in something else. I mean, that is it. And if that offended you, you just was offended. I mean, that's what we was. And I don't have a problem with somebody. If those of us who know people, I know people who they were Christian this year, next year they were a Muslim, the year after that they were a Buddhist. I don't take that as something negative. That's just a person going through this. So saying that to say that I'm not sure how we can answer it. And what I can say is that so it can't be, so I would say ultimately what you're saying is it can't be separated from who he is.
Right.
People should stop trying to separate it from who he is and just understand that it's a part of a major narrative ride. And that to just learn to kind of appreciate the brilliance of Prince in totality. I think that's where that people stop trying to say, well, I'm gonna like this Prince, or I'm gonna like that Prince. And I think that's where you get the real, that's because, and I say this a lot, most people are not like Prince. Most people don't know that human beings are pie charts with many slices. So because Prince understood he had a lot of slices in his pie chart, he was never beholden to just one slice. But what happens is the average person comes in, they say, well, I'm gonna just eat the rock slice, or I'm gonna just eat the R&B slice, or I'm gonna just eat the funk slice, and they get mad at the rest of us for liking the other slices. Or they get mad, why are you eating this other slice of Prince when this is the only good slice? No, all these slices are good. I don't know if you guys have ever had the multi-slice cheesecakes. I love that damn multi-slice cheesecake. I'm eat the chocolate cheesecake. I'm eat the strawberry cheesecake. I'm eat the blueberry cheesecake. I'm gonna eat all of the cheesecake. And so I think that at some point we just have to give it up to the fact that Prince was just more diverse than most people. Prince was just more talented than most people. And what comes along with that is how we reconcile ourselves to those slices of Prince's pie chart that we might not like as much, but give other people the latitude to like it. I love Emancipation, even though I will say it's not a Prince real record if there's no real guitar solo on that. You can't really find the Prince guitar solo on Emancipation, but that doesn't stop me from, I really love Emancipation. On the flip side, I am not a fan of Hit and Run Part 1 because Prince did the one thing that I never wanted him to do, which was what people was telling him to do at that time, is Prince needs to get a real young hip-hop person and let him produce him. Well, number one, you didn't need to do that. And if you were going to do that, how about get a real hip-hop producer to do it? That's not me, and I want to be clear. That's not me digging at what's the brother's name who was married to the drummer. I'm not
Josh Weldon.
Yeah, that's not a shot at Josh. When I say that, people are saying that's not a shot at Josh. But if Prince wanted to go that route, Dallas Austin. For real. Right? If you're really saying I'm gonna get a hip hop young DJ, but just because I don't like what Prince was trying to do, like Hit and Run Part 1 is the one Prince album where I almost always skip simply because you cannot have a song titled Hard Rock Lover with no guitar solo. That's it, I said.
It sounds like you're saying kind of like if you have a buffet of food and everyone's coming over grandma and them house and everybody love the fried chicken.
Right.
But she makes a bomb ass stuffings or something, but ain't nobody really grabbing that. We can't be mad if everyone just loves to eat the chicken.
That's it.
Let them eat the chicken.
Yeah.
They came over to eat. They may go try some of the other food, but damn, let them eat the chicken. Ain't nothing wrong.
And all we can do is say, hey y'all, when y'all finish with the chicken, there's some dressing down here. when y'all finish with some chicken, there's some turkey. I think, and that's what's the beauty about the symposiums and everything that Prof Dust is doing. She's not saying don't eat the chicken. She's simply saying and what I love is that there are more people, right, who like coming back to the Diamonds and Pearl, who now came back to Diamonds and Pearl, like, goddamn, that walk don't walk. That walk don't walk. What the damn Jughead? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
What the Jughead? That Jughead kind of tasted, boy. I got to come back.
Yeah. Put a little different seasoning on it this time. Yeah, it's just pop. But Prince is the grandma though. That's kind of cold with it. Like, I ain't even make the chicken. Y'all gonna eat what I fix. There was a little bit of that too, right? Like, I ain't playing that.
You know, Seeley, there's a pretty decent solo on his cover of One of Us. I forget the original artist's name on Emancipation, but I'll forgive you because that's deep in the album, and dude got like 347 songs on that album.
Holy River has it.
Holy River too.
Yeah.
Okay. But I take your point, and also the point that Michael was talking about with the buffet and all the seasoning, and I have the same I have like an inverse reaction when I look at Purple Rain, because I don't think that the film, see, when we talk about Purple Rain, are we talking about the totality of the film and the album, or are we just talking about the movie? And usually, even if it's one or the other, it's rarely when we talk about Purple Rain that we're talking about the album itself.
Right.
The album only had like 29, 30 days max to be an album before the film came. And what I love, because, you know, been a fan for 40 years, got all this music in my head, yada, 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 well documented. It's cool for me to look at from a real geek nerd perspective on, okay, what was Purple Rain like for those first 30 days when the only thing we knew about the film was what we saw in the When Doves Cry video? How does that go from the trajectory that 1999 kind of established as Prince being Black famous but becoming pop famous?
Right.
When you put on Let's Go Crazy for the very first time, that trajectory is still happening. Purple Rain could have been a flop.
Right.
Would that have trashed the album? I don't know. There are a lot of soundtrack albums that are still beloved, and people either hate the movie or never even saw the movie.
Right.
It's just an interesting conversation, I think to have. And when we do these, when we participate in these symposiums, in these salons, it's always nice to have the opportunity to kind of look at it from the alt perspective. Yeah, it's like, you know, I love this chicken, but I wonder what it really tastes like without all this breading.
Right. Right.
Because that's going to tell me how good the cook is.
That's interesting.
And it's when you also have to then take in context, right, what is happening in Black funk music at the same time, right? So you got Midnight Stars, No Parking on the Dance Floor, which if you didn't live No Parking on the Dance Floor in real time, you talk about a jam that shut down the dance floor, that shut down the club, right? And what happens, the reason I mentioned that song, because does anybody remember what happens in that video?
No.
They have, it's a hood video with a Michael Jackson and Prince lookalike.
Really? I got to go back.
Yes.
Wow.
I want everybody to go watch the No Dancing. And here's why that's important. Because that also speaks to the fact that while you have No Parking on the Dance Floor and you have Midnight Star obviously keeping the funk alive, but also still reacting to Prince and Michael Jackson and saying,
Yeah.
in a way that only black people can say, y'all do know Prince and Mike still our boys.
Right. Right.
But
Thriller
they're
Mike in 1999, Prince.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that they're not saying verbally, literally, Prince and Mike our boys. What they're saying is, we gonna kick a funk groove so hard that you can't help but know Prince and Mike our boys. So so I think that all speaks to that push-pull relationship that music, black culture, mainstream, that we're all having around Purple Rain, right? That the brilliance of both the album and the movie is that it's such a flashpoint, because I think we're all I think that unfortunately, what we're all doing is trying to conceptualize just how great black culture is. And I think the problem is that black culture still remains so vast and so great that it's difficult if it's difficult for even black people to fully grasp our greatness, then you have to expect that it's difficult for people outside our community.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, you see what I'm saying?
I mean,
and so, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because like spring summer '84. From a movie standpoint, you had a couple big blockbusters, Ghostbusters and Beverly Hills Cop, and those are big soundtracks. Ray Parker Jr.'s Ghostbusters, huge record, pop record from a well-established black artist, especially if you were familiar with Radio, the band as opposed to the medium, and also the Pointer Sisters, Neutron Dance.
Yep.
That was on the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack. You talk about those two songs, and then you throw When Doves Cry in the mix. Yeah, I think there's going to be some difficulty in grokking all of that together. Yeah.
How was that black music? How is that? And remember now, No Parking gets released January '84. And that's really the Prince you see in that is kind of the 1999 because he's doing the dance move from the Little Red Corvette video. And the Michael Jackson is doing the Billie Jean Beat It dance moves. So it's at that flashpoint of we're moving from 1999 to Purple Rain, and black people grappling with where we are going, right? And I don't think this happens, right? Because I think, and I want to say this, I don't want people to take this as a shot. Because I'm going to say something that people want to take this as a shot. I'm not taking this as a shot. I think that, man, I hate saying this because I know people want to take this wrong because I love this dude.
I'm here for you, Seeley.
I don't think that, let's say Purple Rain doesn't do whatever it does.
The film?
Yeah.
All right.
The film let's say the film or the album. For a second.
You get sick of me saying that, but yeah, I'm
No, because I think it's important to make that distinction. Man, I hate to say this because I really love this dude. There's people going, oh, man. I don't think that Prince, because of his musicality, would have been regulated in the way that, say, Roger Troutman was regulated, because I don't think that Roger Troutman was as diverse as Prince. But I think that I knew somebody. But here's what I'm saying. Roger Troutman was a funk genius.
Yes.
Was a funk god who understood also, and what people don't give funk geniuses and funk gods credit of is they were also masters of the ballad. And I think that funk, that sweet sticky thing from the Ohio Players and Cameo, people don't give the funk gods the credit they deserve for the R&B slow jams. But I think that what would have separated Prince from Roger, if you go back to For You, Prince had straight rock on For You.
Right.
Like when Prince was doing rock, it wasn't a novelty act.
Yeah, he's
and so,
who he is.
So I still think that the question that Brother Dean and Brother Turnbull are raising about what is because there was enough of Prince on those first three. Bambi.
Yeah.
Bambi is not you understand? And remember when Prince does it, is it what album, what tour are they taking a break from when they're at Sam's? Is it because I don't think it had become First Avenue yet when they're at Sam's and Prince opens the show with Bambi? And he said that, maybe he said that if you can dance to this stuff, you're a better man than I am. And he launches into Bambi. What's that book?
I thought it was before the Controversy tour, right?
Yeah, me
Okay,
too.
yeah. All right. So as Prince was a multi-dimensional musical artist. And so the question then would remain, even if Purple Rain, Move Your Album, we have to also understand that Bambi existed before Purple Rain. What's my jam? Not just as long as we, just as long as we're together. Existed before Purple Rain. Run and Talk to Russia existed before, right? All of the guitar stuff that we get in all the critics existed before Purple Rain. So I think that we would still in some way be having a debate about where Prince sits in the canon of black music, simply because he was more than a one-trick pony before Purple Rain blew up. And I think that if nothing else, Prince would have continued to challenge how we define black music, because I think that was ultimately what he was doing anyway. I think that Prince was ultimately defining and challenging what was black music, and that was a part of his mantra. That was a part of his mission that he would have done. That I don't think that. And again, I'm using Roger as an example, not as a diss. I think that Roger Troutman's goal was to create the best music he could create, but not necessarily challenge what a genre was. Well, I think that Prince, along with wanting to have hits and wanting to make music, I do think that innate to Prince was challenging what the hell is a music genre. And I think you see it from his first album on. I'll shut up.
Let me jump in. I got you. just to say what the Roger thing, and I'm glad you brought that up. I put Rick James in this in the same way.
Yeah.
I think the thing with Prince, though, I always feel like as much as his music was spectacular, it was groundbreaking, influential, innovative, he also had other things that I don't feel like those guys had, which was, I'm just keeping a 1,000. He was light skinned, pretty.
Yep. I agree.
This is back in the 80s when light skinned cats, you have a pass to the front, you know, and they were talented. I mean, you had your Elder Barges, but that was a thing.
Yeah.
And colorism to us was a thing.
Yes.
He is also like a very beautiful man, and I know he knows that. You can tell he knew that early on, and I think he plays into that. I also feel like his management played a big part into the placement, into him getting opportunities that some of these other groups were not going to get. I think it is a thing to say that the team that he had behind him, those three individuals, Ruffalos and all that, I feel like they were clicked in and probably had better relationships and may have been possibly better. Hey, John, how are you doing? Let me talk about that artist. And there's people that were clicked in, the Mo Austin stuff, that they could get stuff done that some of these other guys probably didn't have those type of relationships behind them to take their music into other places that Prince could go. I think the frustrations you hear Rick James talk about isn't that he just thought Prince was just showing him up, but I think he might have been resentful to the fact that how is he able to go over here?
Yeah.
Been doing this. Damn near we're doing the same kind of music. But I'm dark skinned. I may not have, I'm coming from Motown. I'm not, my team ain't clicked in with them folks like that. So he gonna get into these spaces. I think a lot of Prince, I'm saying is he had the talent to back it up. He had the vision to back it up. But let's be clear, in my opinion, he also had the team and certain people around him that they didn't. I think he did. I think he clued into that super early by even the first managers and people that Prince aligns himself with early on. He understands, if I'm going to try to get into their game, they got to walk me in.
Right. I agree.
Otherwise, it ain't going to happen. So I feel a lot of it's like that. And I said to say, because to me, if you just look at it on a Black famous type of thing, or if you just go organically, how does the music influence? Roger's influence on music speaks for itself.
Right.
Some of the biggest rappers have their calling. California Love. If there was no Roger, California Love wouldn't even exist to how we. Many other songs. EPMD's career started on the back of Roger, Troutman, and all them dudes. So to me, his music is just as influential as Prince's on its own, just because the artist and we felt that music. So it's always being a part of it, particularly hip hop culture. And he allows his music to be sampled and stuff. So you see the reach of it. Same with Rick James. Hammer's careers. You can't touch Rick all day. And Mary Jane and all these other songs. So the music was always there. I just don't think that they wasn't light skinned. They was dark skinned brothers. They was pushing the envelope. Rick was pushing the envelope, and he may not have been pretty enough and more inviting enough to a white audience that they would fall in love with him like the way they fell in love with Prince. I think his imagery of Prince also plays heavily into even a lot of hardcore fans why they are enamored with them and may not want to come to grips with why they are, but I think this is a part of it. I can say that for me to some degree, because when I look at some of these artists, I'm like, man, I really be feeling Sly, or I'm really feeling him just as much, but I can understand why visually they may not have gotten past certain doors because they didn't fit that aesthetic. I think, jump around, Michael Jackson obviously understood that assignment for better or for worse, changes his entire appearance to be more presentable, and easy on the eyes to certain people. And I think Prince has some of that too. So we're talking about the original thing in terms of the Purple Rain and stuff. I think that Prince's music, though, was super influential because I feel like after Purple Rain, Prince's sound became the template of music for a while. They're ready for the worlds, and they built their careers on trying to sound like the Minneapolis sound. So not only was he large, but he also, the movement of how his music sounded, and I argue that it was really the 1999 sound, became the sound of Black music for a while. We talk about that enough, but that is why I think there is such a push of nostalgia to that, because it wasn't just Purple Rain. It was that he was the dominant sound of music for a while in the hood. So anyone could do a record like that and was going to get some play, was going to bang. So that's kind of, I just want to throw it.
No, I think that you're 100%. I think you're 100% correct. And I would also add to that, because I like what people putting in about Troutman and Ray Parker Jr. I would also add that not just light skin, and again, you have to be careful how you say these, both light skin and effeminate. No, regardless of how you want, what Prince understood. And somebody help me. Who was the brother who was Prince's manager before? I always get the three Cavalier to Ruffalo. I pronounce it.
Yeah, Pepe Willie.
The brother who was the manager before.
You mean
PJ? Perry PJ Jones?
Yes. Say it again. What's his name?
Perry PJ Jones. Had him on the show.
Yeah. If you guys, I know most people have watched the Sneak 22 series and all that, but PJ Jones, right? PJ Jones was great because remember, it was PJ Jones who did the album cover and imaging for the second album. A black man, by the way, folks. Perry Jones, PJ Jones. And PJ Jones, it was, and I think this is important that Prince said this to a black man. So because I think Cabello and Raphael get a little bit too much. Prince said to a black man, PJ Jones, he said, I don't want people to know if I'm straight or gay, black or white. And so I think that it's the light skin thing, and it's also the gender thing that Prince is understanding this and understanding that he could say this to another black man. Who, and if you understand PJ Jones' history, that dude kind of got screwed because PJ Jones went in, closed the deal, set Prince up basically for black fame, and then got squeezed out of the deal. So I think a lot of people need, and had PJ Jones had his way and done some other things, there would have been an even closer relationship, which is really interesting. PJ Jones was brought in to make sure that what's my man? Oh man, reggae singer. Shoot.
Oh, the tip of my tongue. The classic, he's the man icon.
Yeah.
Bob
Marley, yeah, to make sure that Bob Marley's folks didn't get their hand on Prince. That was the whole reason why they brought in PJ Jones, because they was trying to keep Prince away from Bob Marley's folks. And of course, we got the great story about Bob Marley and seeing Prince in his drawers and running all the way. So that's just a great story for me. But I think I think all of that is correct, right? Bob Marley, yeah, not Eddie Grant, Bob Marley. But I think all of that is important to those things. And I will wrap it up this way, that all of that is true, plus the talent. Because all of that stuff, the being more feminine, the light skin, all that gets you in the door, but it's the talent that keeps you there. And the reverse of that is, and again, this is not a knock, because I'm probably the only somebody, I want to mention somebody who couldn't do it, but I'm probably the only somebody who has at least 8 songs by this dude on his iPod. So I may be about to knock this dude, but I got 8 songs by this dude. The reverse of that is light-skinned, had kind of a feminine appeal, had to kind of play all the instruments, but didn't have the talent to stay in the door.
TTD.
Giorgio.
Oh, George.
Hilarious.
See? Giorgio. And I can say that, and I got 8
So,
what
8 songs are you listening
to? Let me say this. So because when Giorgio comes out, everybody's like being like Prince, acting like Prince. Has the video where he has the bodyguards come take him off the stage like Prince. And so Giorgio was the person who had the images of Prince, but didn't have enough hits to keep it going. And I don't have anything to prove this, because I want Arthur to go, I don't have anything to prove this, but this is what I believe. Again, I don't have anything to prove this. This is what I believe. I Wish You Heaven parts 1, 2, and 3. When Prince says, take this beat, I don't mind. I got plenty of others, and they so fine. In my heart of hearts, I believe he dissing Giorgio ass. Now, I can't prove it. Look at when that song came out and where Giorgio was, Prince was looking at Giorgio saying, take this beat, I don't mind. I got plenty of others, and they so fine. And Prince took a cigarette and put it out on Giorgio's career. And that was the last time we heard it. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I want to know the 8 songs, goddammit.
I'm gonna know 8 songs.
I mean, I'm not going to. I am not going to deny the colorism issue and how it was much easier to push an agenda of an artist I'm not even going to use that term, but just of a lighter shade of brown. Other than to say that 84, 85, I believe New Edition might want to have a word, because I think New Edition was a demarcation. Is that the word for it?
Yeah.
Along with hip hop, because you had Slick Rick, Dana Dane, also, who were visually appealing to girls and women.
Right.
I think that I think that a thing about Prince that he had that provided a good secret weapon for him was that the sound of 1999 was embraced by not just white audiences, but white artists themselves. I think that Stevie Nicks Stand Back, and whereas at the time we didn't know that was Prince playing the synth, but that the song was based on Little Red Corvette. Post Purple Rain, but Phil Collins' Studio also helped with that agenda. There's urban legend, but I mean it's based in fact that John Cougar Mellencamp at when his career was skyrocketing, stopped the concert, I believe in Tulsa, Oklahoma, to play Little Red Corvette for his audience through a boombox. I think that helped a lot in pushing Prince's sound to an audience outside of traditional R&B.
Just to throw in there with Rolling Stones did that too, right? But the audience said, nah.
Right. Right.
The white artistry always acknowledges black music. They know they built off of.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They can't help but look at this. This is great. You guys should really listen to this because they know that's dope as hell and they want to be that.
Yeah.
Right.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that the audience or even the industry is going to play. Like they know. Isn't there a thing with Nirvana where they're like, yeah, we were all onto Gap Band or something?
It was Dave Grohl talking about that. A lot of the stuff that he was doing on Nevermind was based on Tony Thompson's playing. Tony Thompson being the drummer.
They know the real stuff.
And the Power Station. But yeah.
But they also know that ain't going to be, they're not going to never put that in front of the mainstream unless it's got our face on it. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying with Prince. I'm like, yeah, well, they know he was dope, but they know rap was dope.
Right.
It don't mean that they're going to allow Roger or somebody to be mainstream. That doesn't mean MTV is going to allow Rick James's video to be shown, even though they know that shit is tight.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not.
No, excellent point too. I mean,
even the white artists, they know it's dope, but they're not going to throw their career on the line to make sure that such and such.
Right.
I'll record a song with you and get some of your juice on my record, but that's about it.
Right.
And see, and everything that we're talking about, makes me believe even more that if Purple Rain failed at the box office, that Prince would have still been okay.
Yeah.
Because he already had that sound.
Yep.
Right.
That other people were mimicking.
Yeah.
And I think that the best thing that Purple, because another thing too, like he already had Raspberry Beret in the tank, right?
Right.
When he released Purple Rain. So he already had, the follow-up ready. And I know people got confused about, what to play on the record and all that. But that aside, I think the best thing that Purple Rain as a film and a phenomenon did for Prince was allow him to leave the sound that he was It's crazy. It's like on Purple Rain and to a degree Around the World in a Day, but it's like he basically leaves the sound that he's yet to establish, but sees that the tide is rolling in that favor and completely walks away from it with pride.
That's true.
Is he trying to play to a different audience as a playing to the audience I know or already got? So should I shift my album to fit the wider stream?
Yeah, and he already got people working. Like he's already got other artists working for him because they love that sound.
Already got the black market. I could do a 1999 too, but the money's over here. So does he shift the album to play toward that, or does he play with he knows would work? You know what I mean? Like,
and I would say that the shock. I would say that the shock for Prince was. I really do think Prince was generally taken aback. And I think that we put it in context that it wasn't all black people, but I do think Prince was generally taken aback. There were some black people who were like, "You're not with it no more." Like, because you hear Prince say things like, "Around the World Today" is a real funky record.
Right.
Like, so I think that Prince was more, he was like, well, black people know black music. And I think really Prince didn't realize, like, no, a lot of black people don't know their own history.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do think that became one of the problems with Prince's career, is that we take for granted or we don't realize how strong white supremacy is. And because white supremacy is so strong, there's just the reason a lot of black people suffer from black self-hatred, because we don't know our own history. Mm-hmm. We don't know our own culture. And so I think that Prince was someone who knew black history and black music and was surprised to find, oh, you mean you Negroes don't know as much black history as I do? You don't know as much black music? And so I think for him, the shock was, I don't understand. I can see how maybe some of the white people not hearing it. I don't see how you Negroes not hearing my Black Strain in the Parade record. Like, how can you hear Boys and Girls and say I've left. Like there's no way you could hear Boys and Girls
Right.
and say that this dude is so loud. Like there's no.
Or
If
another level holding
any
your head.
other black artist would have released Boys and Girls, nobody would have said that was a pop record.
Right.
And so,
But I think
so,
too. I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
No, you got it. My bad. Go ahead.
No, I was just I want both of y'all to go, and then I want to read. And it wasn't 8 songs. I got 9 Giorgio songs.
Man,
Giorgio, that's like
my
9.
God.
I want both of y'all to go, and I'm gonna rattle off my 9 Giorgio songs. Go ahead, brother Dean, brother Turnbull.
I was just gonna say too. I think Prince also wrestling with not just the music changing, but I think the aesthetics of the culture are changing.
Yeah.
When you have hip hop coming in, and in terms of the imagery of the black male is starting to change away from that femininity type of look. And to me, he's sort of championing a Little Richard aesthetic and all these things from the past. But now that hip hop is coming with the whole different, Run DMC and all that. No, we're this type of masculinity. And I don't think at that time Prince, he probably was a superstar. Why would he be paying attention to it? But I think the culture and what was the aesthetic was starting to change. And even though I think his music was still banging, the visual of all of this matters just as well. The fashion of our music just as well. And the fashions was changing, the look was changing. The Jerry curl, you was gonna get clamped.
Yep.
High top fades and all that. So it was just a different aesthetic. I think going back to Diamonds and Pearls, that is him saying, okay, I'm gangster, cool. This cool. I'm gonna be more in tune to kind of what I got the rappers. I got more black people on the stage. He shifted it and finally caught up to that. But I think those around the world in the day and all that parade, the music was there, but I don't think the aesthetics of it was not matching what people were doing. And at the same point too, when you have Old Girl and Under the Cherry Moon as the lead, I know the person who got me into Prince, she was like, what?
Yep. Let's be clear about that. That was an issue for that. Yes, be clear about that. That was an issue. I remember a sister. Remember when Jerome was on BET on Video Soul promoting the movie? And I think a sister called in and said she did not appreciate seeing 2 black men chase a white woman for 90 minutes. That was a real issue. And here's something with me even being, I'm not a hip hop head, but here's something I give hip hop credit to. And even though they struggle with it a bit, one of the things that hip hop did through videos is they changed what a leading woman could look like. And not only did hip hop change what a leading woman could look like, and again, this is coming from a non-hip hop head, I don't think that LL Cool J gets enough credit for the song Around the Way Girl. Because not only does hip hop make it cool for brown and dark-skinned women to be leading ladies, then you have the apex of that with Round the Way Girls, where sisters who don't look like Aballonia, sisters who don't look like Kristen Stock Thomas, to say, these are the kind of women who are going to be the trophies. These are the kind of women. And so, yes, when you talk about that aesthetic and what it looked like, there were a lot of black people. And even for me, watching Under the Cherry Moon in real time, I went to the movie, sat there, and I liked the movie. I want to be clear, I liked the movie. But I had an issue with the fact that Christopher's come to Jesus moment, though you know his real name Yeshua, that Christopher's was what scared him straight was the face of a middle-aged black woman. I had a problem with that, even as a 16-year-old boy. What makes you say, hey, I got to change? And my only issue with that was that not one black person on staff, not one black person who could actually say, hey, can we make it a middle-aged white woman? Because what you don't want is to offend all these black people who love you. And so I think you really hit on the point that sometimes, unfortunately, it's not what you do, it's how it looks. Because the very reverse is, I got with Parade that Prince was doing a James Brown and the Black Flames. I got it.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody from hip hop got it. And I was glad when doing the Diamonds and Pearls radio episodes, when Tony says that was supposed to be us. That's why they were pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
He said that the Game Boys were supposed to have been Jerome, Wally, and Brooks, but Prince took them. So Prince was clearly thinking about Black history. Unfortunately, the optics of it. The optics didn't sit right. I'll shut up.
And we didn't get to see the Parade tour. That was the thing too. Like only certain places got to see it, and then Europe went to see it, but we didn't get to see it. I think if you would have toured the States with that, everything you said, yeah, we would have saw what he was doing. Like, oh, he ain't never ain't left nothing. The whole show was blacked out.
Yep.
You know. But anyway, I'm done talking.
All right, so we are gonna end here, even though we can go on forever, and we really didn't even get to what did Prince do this week.
I was going to ask that question. What did he do this week?
He was filming Rain.
According to the book, he didn't do a damn thing. According to the book. He didn't do a damn thing. Come back next week. We'll pick up with Prince not doing a damn thing.
Well, technically that is correct. In the book, Dwayne actually doesn't cover the filming of Purple Rain because it is the studio sessions book. So that's the reason why. But what I will do really quickly, even though I hadn't planned on it. So that's the reason why you need to go to the website. And because you can look at the slides, because I had a whole slide deck that was prepared and everything. So if you go to bookclub.apollosolid.com, and what I'm going to do with the quickness, just for time's sake, we can look at the calendar because we were supposed to cover the past 2 weeks because we didn't do what did Prince do this week last week, and we really didn't do it this week either. But that's okay. So you can see that he was predominantly working. I mean, they were predominantly filming at First Avenue for essentially 11 out of the 12 days. And the only thing I do want to do, though, so you can go through and see that the locations was the First Avenue, but on Saturday, December 17th, there's something called the interior shoot at the shoe shine stand, as well as exterior at the Taste. So I'm going to flip through all this, which we would have gone through some stuff, blah, 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 blah.
And salute to you putting all this work in. I know
absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah. That means you need to come back next week because she's going to cover all this and then the next week. So Professor Duff, Brother Dean, Cindy not going to be here talking too damn much. And she going to cover all this and you're going to get your Purple Rain movie script. Come back next week. All right, go ahead.
The one thing I want to point out, though, is the same because it was when I did a double take because I was like, oh, shoe shine. Like, this is when, that says what, like the whole dialogue between Jerome, but it's not because if you look at the actors working, it says Morris, Jerome, shoe shine boy. And I was like, okay. And then it says cops, suits, male lawyers, female lawyers, cops, suspects, shady, and a vendor. And the prop says shoe shine props, weapons, police, cigarettes, briefcases. And it says interior shoe shine stand. And then it says day gets shoe shine, talk about password. So it seems like originally this password scene was actually larger with more folks. And because if I remember correctly, wasn't the shoe shine happening in First Avenue? That's what I always interpret as in First Avenue, right?
Right.
So this was like a revelation when I read this. I was like, what? Like,
Man, that Snyder cut. What's going on?
Right.
how would the Snyder cut? Like, I would love to know, like, did they shoot this? So that's one thing. All right. So I, like Celie said, we are going to talk about some of this probably next week, but I want to do this with the quickness. the part 3 of the Aballonia 6 conversation has been released. And again, on these slideshows, if you click on it, it'll take you to it. And if you go to the playlist for this week, you can also find it. So that's one thing to know about. The other thing to know about is that there is a 3-part new conversation with Mr. Eric Leeds on the Truth and Rhythm podcast. So again, if you click here or you go to playlist, you can listen to it. I haven't even had time to listen to it. So yeah. Oh, and before we do that, I love these comments. That scene would have cost more. That is correct. And then Carol was saying, a crime, these scenes are gone forever. That's what people say, but I don't want to lose hope. I know they're supposedly destroyed, but yep. All right. So in addition to that, C. Lee and Maite were on Word Philly Radio with the host Tanya Pendleton, who joined us last week for Diamonds and Pearls Super Deluxe. But also Maite was on this episode at the top of the hour, only on audio. So that's the reason why we have Mr. C. Lee because they were on the same episode. So you might want to check that out. It's on Facebook and SoundCloud. And then Funkatopia did a Funk the Funk presentation with a lot of folks, including Alan Lee, who I hadn't seen in a while, and Susan Rogers, St. Paul that we talked about earlier, Gilbert, Michael B., and actually Gary Snyder also showed up as well. So a lot happened. Then I already mentioned this, Questlove Supreme, talked to Andre 3000. And the reason why, because I know some of you guys are going to go like, why are we talking about Andre 3000? He talks about Prince for about 15 minutes at the end of this conversation. So there's a lot of Prince. Well, it's a lot of Prince for me. And I love Andre 3000. I'm from the South. He's my number one hip hop lyricist of all times. And I don't care what anybody else says, because that's just how I roll. And then I just want to quickly remind everyone, we are going to do these after salons so we can go deep like we did today on the Super Deluxe. And then in the meantime, you can always go back, because I still think that some of us haven't really listened to the Sign of Time Super Deluxe, because there's so much information in there. You can go back and watch those. And then you can watch all of the roundtables from this past weekend. It's on YouTube. And if you need more Diamonds and Pearls, there's always the roundtables and the presentations. There's 13 videos, as well as one more on Vimeo, an interview with Scott McCullough on Vimeo for Diamonds and Pearls if you need more Diamonds and Pearls. So we talked about this, but I just want to reiterate that we're going to do an Erotic City 40 Symposium in person at NYU in Brooklyn on April 12th through 14th, which is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It will also be live streamed. We are celebrating Purple Rain, Aballonia 6, Sheila E., Glamorous Life, and Ice Cream Castle at the time. But the one I'm really looking forward to is the virtual symposium for Come, 30 Years of Come, which is going to be happening August 10th through 11th in the same year. So we're going to have a lot of stuff going on. So if you're liking these conversations, I can't remember if it was Celie or Arthur, but someone said during Diamonds and Pearls Super Deluxe virtual celebration, I think it was you, Celie, bring a friend. Bring a friend to the symposium, or bring a friend. Arthur, bring a friend. I think that's really important. And even more so, it'd be great if you can bring a young person who's interested in music, just to see if you can help them understand who Prince is beyond the Purple Rain t-shirt, because that happens a lot. So yes, that is a lot, but that's how we do, because we are going to also be continuing our What Did Prince Do This Week every week. I have to give mad shout out to Michael Dean for holding it down with me every single week. There's only one, and there's only Michael Dean, because Michael's the only person who would ever do that. So I am so absolutely grateful for that.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. So I hope you had a blast. Any closing remarks? Celie?
Yes, I know they are. My Giorgio top 9 countdown. I ain't even know about it. Here we go.
Let's go.
These are the 9 songs I have from Giorgio. 1, Sex Appeal.
Okay.
2, Lover's Lane. 3, I Won't Change. 4, Bedrock. By the way, Bedrock is a really underrated funk jam. You should check out Bedrock. 5, Tina Cherry. 6, I Want to Dance. 7, Romantic Love. 8, Sweeter Than Candy. And 9, I Don't Want to Be Alone. And I really like I Don't Want to Be Alone as a strong jam. It is I Don't Want to Be Alone is a strong, quiet storm, slow jam. So if you haven't heard Bedrock and I Don't Want to Be Alone, the brother had 9 songs. He didn't have enough to continue after that, but those are my 9 Giorgio recommendations.
Wow. I heard it. I don't know what else to say. I would say the people that don't go Google Giorgio or go look on YouTube and you'll see. I remember when he came out, I was like, is this like a bizarro Love Sexy Prince or something? Like, just yeah. But salute to Giorgio. I bought the album, you know.
Oh, I did not know this, that Giorgio is actually from Minnesota.
Oh, really? Okay.
That I didn't know.
Yes.
Yeah, somebody said he had a movie. He did have a movie.
He did have a movie. The plot of the movie was they were trying to say their uncle's either radio station or record company, and they had to do this thing to save the record company or the radio station or something.
Wow.
Yeah, and he can't act. So yeah, that's the other part of the movie. Yeah, it was yeah, you didn't miss much.
Scooby Prince.
Yeah.
Don't disrespect that.
All right, that's all I got. Thank y'all for having me. I appreciate y'all. I'm sorry to everybody that I talk too much. As always, my bad. I shut up now.
All right. So thank you so much, Celie, as always, for blessing us with your presence. There's only one. And thank you so much, Arthur, for joining us to do a Diamonds and Pearls Super Deluxe Virtual Celebration recap. And for everybody else, hopefully you will return next week for What Did Prince Do This Week? And we'll have to catch up and do 3 weeks of filming with the quickness. Yeah. All right. Goodbye.